And
Lee, what's going on, my guy?
living the dream more or less. How about yourself?
Yeah, can't complain. It's a holiday week, man. I'm excited to be off tomorrow. Enjoy with the family. How about you?
Pretty similar. I'm gonna do a little bit of work in the morning. Not too much, just have a couple of things to write up. The work that doesn't involve anyone but myself. And then, yeah, off to family. Actually, after church, to help out with the community meal. Then off to family.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
Hopefully,
So,
sleeping most of the day, most of the afternoon, and evening away, and in a
well,
turkey-filled haze.
obviously, that's the most important thing about Thanksgiving. Um, so I
Obviously,
I have a giant bone to pick with you, sir. Giant
I
bone,
think.
and I've saved it for like 5 days. So I've been
Well,
waiting
can
on
can I start by saying I don't really need to hear about your giant bone. I think we
this.
all heard enough about your giant bone. But
Are you
please
what?
tell,
What?
yeah. At least we've heard the
What?
rumor of the giant bone.
Oh gosh, here we
I
go.
don't
I'm
want your
not I'm
giant
not
bone
Stu.
picking into me. I don't want your giant bone picking into me. That's for sure.
All right. So through the course of 10 years of listening to the Baller Lifestyle, I've had those awkward moments. I'm sure you have when you like roll up in your car and Brian or Ed are talking about like dicks or coming on themselves or
What?
something like that, right? Like you're in a
No,
situation where like, boy, I really wish I would have hit pause on that before I would have, pulled up next to this person at a stoplight and they look at you like you're crazy. You had those moments?
no. But I've had the moments where my kid's in the car with me and I don't
Yeah,
realize the
yeah,
podcast is on. That I've
yeah,
had that.
yeah. Okay. So I've had moments where like I roll up to work and like, Brian's talking about his crank and I like look over to the
Oh,
person next to me and
actually,
I'm like,
I take that back. I had a time where I was had an employee that we were going. I was going to trip to the airport too because we were going on a work trip, and Brian was talking about masturbating a whole lot on that episode, and yeah, that was an awkward conversation. Thankfully,
so
she was cool with it, everything,
yeah, yeah. So I've had those moments, like not a lot, but enough where I'm like, all right, I just have to be cognizant of like when I'm rolling up, if like something's starting to talk a certain way, I just have to hit pause real quick, right? So, um, your little conundrum when you were in Utah though kind of snuck up on me, and
Snuck up
it
on me
hit
too, by the way.
right. Oh, I bet it did. It sounded like it did more than anything. Uh, but it hit right when I was pulling into uh, the the gate where it's the gateway from the Upper Peninsula to the Lower Peninsula. You go across the Mackinac Bridge, right? And I have to hand the gentleman $4 to pay the toll to get across the bridge. And as I'm driving with one hand, reaching for my wallet in the other, I hit the window down and I roll up, and here you are talking about needing to um, uh, self gratify. And I'm like, God fucking damn it. And I was like, just don't say anything, buddy. Just don't say anything, buddy. Just don't say anything, buddy. And he just looks at me and goes, have a great day. And I'm like, fuck. God damn Lee. God damn him.
You
So
think the
that's my
guy
joint.
spending all? You think this fairy guy does not, for a second, appreciate self gratification?
Mm. No, I think he did. I'm just not sure that was the first of his shift that day. When he got told that he would hear somebody playing a podcast over their radio of them gratifying themselves. So,
I think
son
you
of a bitch.
frequently, I think you frequently underestimate how many people talk about masturbation and then listen to people talking about masturbation on the interweb.
I, I guess I guess I do, Lee. I guess that's just me being
Yeah.
naive and innocent and just angelic over here.
You
So,
know what? It's the innocence of your youth. Stick with me a while, kid, and I'll teach you some things.
oh, there you go. I
It,
appreciate your chaperoning me across the bastion of 40s here in a couple of years. So I appreciate
yeah.
that.
Also, I'm so apologetic and sorry that I ruined and made for an awkward interaction between you and a person you're probably never going to see again in your life.
I
I'm
know.
sure
I
that person's opinion of you has a strong sense of that's what a lot of your self-esteem
yeah.
is based on, and
Oh
for
yeah.
that I
Yep.
apologize sincerely.
Yep. Yep. I feel the sincerity in your voice. I definitely feel the sincerity in your voice.
Speaking of apologies, I think you owe me one
I for what? For like what? What did I do to you?
for this movie we're about to discuss. I
I
gotta
don't
be honest, like it
is
I saw it when it came out. I haven't seen it since then, and holy fuck, it is of a time, and I forgot just how fucking annoying Pauly Shore is.
right?
Oh my dear God. Absolute worst. It took me 4 sittings to get through this hour and a half movie.
Four sittings, Lee? Oh my
Four
god.
sittings.
Oh my
Because he just
god.
pissed me off.
Yeah,
I gotta be
I
honest
get
though,
it. I
the
get it.
last half hour, I was wishing there was more. I'm not.
Yeah.
It sucked me in, and then
Yep.
like
Yep.
much like Crossroads. You start thinking you're not gonna like it. You start thinking you're not gonna like it, and then
Boom.
that damn plot.
Tiffany Amber Thiessen shows up, and you're like,
I mean,
"Hello."
I was phrasing that as the plot, but yes, you could say that. That as well.
All right, Lee. So let's set this up like Dola did, right? So since we're getting in the swing of things, so all right. So a movie review, Son-in-Law, which I feel is a Thanksgiving classic. Pauly Shore. He was kind of on a heater here in the early '90s to mid '90s. I mean, this kind of was right in that stretch right after Encino Man, right? And then all of a sudden this movie came out, and then you had like Biodome and In the Army Now. So there was a stretch there where he had some heaters, but this certainly was kind of on the tip of his proverbial spear here. So I appreciate you hanging in there. Appreciate you watching it, but I thought I couldn't think of a better Thanksgiving movie to watch, for us to review than this movie. So, but for those of you who are wondering, where's Dola? Lee, do you want to tell everybody where Dola is tonight?
Yes, he messed around with a dirty stripper and got a VD.
Yep, armpit crabs. So
Yep, soaking is
poor.
real. Don't let the Mormons fool you. You need to use protection, even if it's an armpit. Use
Yep.
protection. Good hygiene is important.
So please, everybody, pour one out for our good friend Dola. He did say he was going to show up at some point tonight, probably right after they strip the crabs off of him, and he'll leave us a nice review or some messages, but he won't be with us tonight in full. So you'll have just Lee and I to lead you through this masterpiece. So SuperLee, any thoughts? I mean, you kind of hit on some thoughts from the outset of the movie, but anything you want to share with us as we lead into the movie, as we'll get kicked off here in just a second.
So I purposefully did no pre-research before the movie started. I I went on and I bought the movie on Amazon, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go into this and I'm going to watch it. And the first thought of my mind as I'm seeing cornfields at the beginning of this thing is, oh, Tiffany Amber Thiessen is in this movie. I completely forgot about that, and she ended up being like probably one of the top two parts of the movie.
Well, her two parts would probably make her the one in the top three for sure. Both of her parts are in there, right?
Wow, wow. I was meaning her acting, and I am not one to diminish her abilities.
Well,
She
no,
is
I was saying
absolute treasure.
acting and attractiveness. So they're the two
Oh yeah,
things: acting and
I
attractive.
would
Yeah.
say dancing as well too, if you want to give her a third one.
Oh, sure, 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 sure. So, yeah. So it's unfortunate that while she's in the movie, she's not the main focus of the movie for the entire movie. But
No,
um,
she's barely in it actually.
right, right. Um, so kicking off the movie, as you mentioned, so getting right into the thick of things with Son-in-Law, we meet the lead character, after the 5.5 minute montage of them flying over all these cornfields with names scrolling. we learn that this is about the class in 1993, right? So some of us weren't even, you know, in double digits yet when this movie was released. But anyway,
Which of
um,
us was that, Ben? Because I'm not sure that was me.
I think it was Laura actually. Um,
Okay, fair
yeah.
enough.
So we get to meet the lead character who is, with the setup of the movie, is high on the pedestal of being the perfect small town queen, valedictorian with the perfect boyfriend, right? So we already kind of know where the tip of this iceberg is. But do you want to guess how old Travis is, the boyfriend in this movie? Do you know, Lee, how old he
I
is?
do not. I do not know. I'll guess 26.
26. That's a strong guess. He was 30. He was 30 when
Whoa.
this movie was shot, right?
Well, no, no.
So
What? No, that comes into play later on, obviously.
obviously, but yeah, he's 30. Um, and you the whole setup here is, she's definitely on and destined to go on to bigger and brighter things. And the family, it's perfect. Mom, son, uh grandpa's in the picture, so you get a picture. She's well supported, right, by all of those around her to go on and do greater things. And she has this like 30-year-old boyfriend who is very very into her and wants nothing more than to spend his entire life with her. So already we know there's got to be a cliff here where something happens between them, right? And
By the way,
what is
before
that
you go
thing?
through this
Yeah.
this graduation ceremony, this reminds me the hell out of a lot of what I grew up with and what I graduated with, where they have bleachers at a high school football field that are not full, and you have about 150 kids graduating. That's pretty much exactly what I graduated with.
Yeah, so I too was trying to count on the flyover of how many seats there were, because I graduated with 74 kids in my class, Lee. 74. So this looks to be about that size. There doesn't look to be a huge class here. But yeah, I mean, definitely small town living. I with you 100%. Um, the small town life um, is unique, because then, later in the movie it comes out that like everybody knows the couple, right? Everybody knows them
Oh yeah.
and is kind of in their corner, right? So the setup is here. Um, so after graduation, we see what Travis's true intentions are. And do
Hell
we
yeah.
do we have a strong feeling that he was in it for anything more than a roll in the hay?
I think he was because, but initially I do at least. Because they've been going together for a long time. This small town, I have the best intention. I think the world of small town America boys. I think they, are young men that grew up I think they're wholesome. They're above average intelligence, and we pretty much God's creation,
So, do you know anybody like that, Lee?
possibly.
Personally, do you? Possibly. Okay. Well, I would concur. I mean, we concur with your assessment. Um, but it seems like Travis the Predator, I'm sorry, Travis was really trying to get in those pants and seal the deal before we learn that she's off to college. And Lee, would it be surprising to you that not only, you know, they would all want to go to college, but they all drive this massive F-350 across the country to bring her to LA?
Um, that seems like a decision because, as we discovered later, they have an airport in the town. So I would think just flying her out there with the two checking the two bags would be way cheaper than spending about $3,000 on gas for that F-350.
even
Now,
even even
I
in yeah even back in the 90s, it was still
yeah,
going to cost him $3,000.
because that truck's getting 9 miles per gallon.
Absolutely.
And not, let's not forget too that her brother is the kid from the Sandlot.
Right. Right. The brother. Okay, let's pause, because I think we need to explore the brother a little bit. So
One of my favorite
So,
characters in the entire movie, by the way, is the
oh,
brother.
hands down, he is a little shit and brings so much joy to this movie, just because of his just I don't know actions, especially when they finally get to the dorm, which is probably one of my favorite scenes of the entire movie is the dorm scene, which is kind of where we are right now. So the family obviously has to do the whole "oh my god, there's traffic in LA" thing, and then they finally get to campus, which they never tell us which campus it is, but would it
It's
be?
UC UCLA.
Oh, you do? Okay,
It says
okay. I
yeah.
must. All right.
By the way,
So yeah,
I
I
have it
was gonna
on
be my
right now. I have it
yeah,
on, and I also have IMDb on now that I'm looking at who's in this thing. And Travis, the guy who played Travis, I looked him up at what he's known for, and one of his things he's known for is a TV show, a little known TV show I liked a lot called Tour of Duty, where he played a Vietnam soldier from, and it was on from 1989 to 1990. That's
yeah.
4 years. He was playing a Vietnam soldier, a lieutenant. So it means after post college, 4 years prior to
Right,
this.
right. So it raises the question for me, like when they go to cast these sorts of movies, like he's a handsome guy, right?
Oh
But
God, yes.
was that the only thing they were looking for? Like he just has to be handsome, all American looking. Doesn't matter that he's 30, almost 20 years out of being in college or in high school, right? He just 30. Like that's fine. He's perfect. Perfect fit.
I
Like
got
this
a
is
feeling, look at the size of this cast, that for the most part, I think his best ability was availability.
now, now you gotta wonder, like I think the budget for this movie was like south of $8 million, right? Because you're
Or
right.
hold
Like,
on. Oh
go
shit! I just
ahead.
figured it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
His previous credit before Son-in-Law, Saved by the Bell Hawaiian Style.
So okay. Okay.
So he was
So
probably hanging out with Tiffany Amber Thiessen,
yep. Yep.
and
Exactly.
she was just like, "Hey, I'm doing this other movie. Why don't you come and slide in on this one too?" And he was like, "I'll slide in something else too while we're at it."
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Because he also was
So
in 7 episodes of Beverly Hills 90210 too
yeah,
later.
that was gonna be what I said. So since the budget was like $8 million, he seemed to have to be kind of like a friend of a friend of a friend. Somewhere along the way, he kind of just was like, you're gonna do this for us, right? Because
Yeah.
why else? How else would that make sense? Because why would you cast a guy who was a Vietnam veteran as now a graduating senior preying on everybody?
Also, by the way, I now have this thing rolling. They're in the scene in the where they're rolling the hay. So she's got this like 1920s nightgown on, and she quickly, like, after she goes to bed and she says goodnight to her parents, she strips off and she's wearing what seemingly would be pajamas as well, like
Even and even
undershirt
and
and
yeah, yeah, an even
I was
more
expecting, like, like
matronly
a
outfit.
bikini or something. Yeah, like
Right, right.
what is going on here? Like, I mean, let's be
Well,
honest. She was banging hot.
yes. Becca she is very attractive. I will say very attractive, but
Carla
dresses like
Gugino.
yeah, dresses like her mother, right? So that was just the setup was there that she was good old country folk and they're conservative yada yada. So but I caught that too where she has this like big overthrow like gown on and then strips off into something that's basically the same thing but in two pieces. It's like okay, not that turned Travis off at all. He figured out buttons and wanted to get in that, but
But she
um
was having none of it.
no,
Also, by the
no,
way, the
she
mom could get it too.
oh yes, yes. Yeah, absolutely. The scene, well, we'll get to
Yeah.
the scene later.
Later on,
But
those thoughts are confirmed.
yes, yeah, absolutely. All right, we have a message here from Drew, so let's get to see what Drew's all about.
Hey guys, I have actual notes that I took while watching this movie last night. And since you mentioned age, no one in this dorm building, no college student actor in this movie was younger than 38 years old.
No,
Well, wait.
no, no, they're old as hell. That's just what they are. They're all old
Carla's only
people.
22. Becca's 22.
Which, yeah, which okay, yeah, that's not bad. I mean, that's in the ballpark. Like I'm down with that. But come on, a lot of these actors are certainly, when you get in the dorm, certainly are older than what they appear, right?
There, not a lot. Let's see, I'm looking at Adam Goldberg. Well, he's 23, but again, he's always looked old.
Yeah. So how old was the brother in this? Now that we're on ages, this would be interesting. How old was the brother in this?
All right, old please. He was born in 1979, so he was about 14,
Yeah.
13
Okay.
probably when it was filmed.
Yeah.
He looks
Yeah.
he looks that age. He is age appropriate.
He's the only
Uh,
one that casts age appropriate.
that and the mom maybe, but he's wearing a shirt at that dorm that just says "Seduce me, please."
Yes. So that's where I was going to pick up the movie here. So obviously we get to LA. Becca's super embarrassed. Her family's embarrassing because they're small town. They don't know what's going on. Her brother's wearing a shirt that says "Seduce me." He's not being helpful. The parents get into a fight. They finally make it into the dorm, and they see a young kid walking down the hallway who gets his towel stripped off, which I think gets Becca a little tingly. She probably sees her first penis of her life right there.
Outside of
She
house
get
class or farm animals.
right. So she gets a little tingly. She gets a little smirk on her face, like this is where I'm meant
The
to
mom
be,
also
right?
enjoyed it a decent amount too.
Oh yeah. The mom again. The mom could get it. The mom would get it. And I think the mom wanted to kind of stay. So
Yeah,
so we get into the dorm, Lee. We get into the dorm, and the little
I fully
brother,
believe, by the way, that Becca's living out her mom's dream and going away to college. I think Becca's
one hundred
mom
percent.
had bigger dreams, probably got knocked up with Becca, and that's why she never left South Dakota.
Right, right, 100%. So
By the
so
coach
the
of the Mighty Ducks, the bad coach on Mighty Ducks is the guy who knocked her up.
oh I didn't yeah. I forgot about that connection here.
And then
Um,
the kid from the Sandlot starts fucking with the roommate's panties
well, but okay, so
and bras.
before he does that to the roommate though, he goes through his sister's shit, which I
No,
don't have
no,
a sister.
he
No,
starts
he
with.
he opens her trunk. He opens her trunk first and pulls out like white cotton panties.
Oh, that's right. That's disgusting.
Yeah. So I don't have a sister, okay, but
Nor do I.
I couldn't imagine that would be the first place as a 14-year-old, 13-year-old boy you would go. Now, the roommate side of the room open for business, no?
Well, not for him. It's not.
He didn't
Because
feel that way.
roommate. Yeah, I mean, he was, but then the roommate comes in with her girlfriend, and it's a very enjoyable experience for the brother.
Oh, yeah. The brother's comment there was, "Dad, do you have your camera?" Right? He
Yes.
he wants that to live 100% on in perpetuity for just not only his memory, but he wants it to live on for him for forever. He wants a picture of that can ensure he never forgets it.
Well, let's be honest. That kind of stuff does not still fly in South Dakota.
Nope. No,
They
it
they
doesn't.
they they don't have that kind of relationship.
No. No. So all right. So we meet the roommate. We meet the roommate's
Oh,
girlfriend.
and the dad can't pop open the trunk, so he has to go across the hall to the RA
Exactly.
for a
Exactly. So
screwdriver.
so after being shocked stiff by the kiss that the roommate plants on the girlfriend, he the dad, who you would think as a farmer would come with a multi-tool on his person, something to assist in this, even though
Or
the
just
brother
have the
lost the
you,
key.
or just know how to use another key, like a car key, to pop that thing open.
Right,
I am
right.
not
So
buying for a second this guy's a farmer at this point.
no, no. Why would you? He's come ill
I gotta
prepared.
say, only thing is the plaid shirt and the F-350.
Right. The lifted F-350, which
Wait,
yeah was probably a rough ass ride across the country.
oh God, yes. I had a friend, and her she drove one of those in high school, and it was not the smoothest ride, but it did have a big bed.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. Lee, what kind of friend was this? Was this a friendly friend or just a friend?
Friend.
Okay, okay, but it had a big bed in the back.
We hauled many people back there. She hauled a lot more people back there than anyone else I know.
Well, when you have the vehicle, you have to do that. I think that's the laws of it. You have to be the one to haul people.
And in small town, you got to help people move and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
you never know who's gonna need help getting moving.
you would know, Lee. You would know. You were there. All right, let's hit Drew here. Oh, I don't want to skip Laura. I don't want to skip Laura. I forgot that she hit us up.
Gentlemen, I thought this was supposed to be a wholesome movie review podcast episode about son-in-law, and now we're talking about masturbating publicly. What is happening?
Who's talking about that?
We were just talking about being in a situation where other people are talking about it in public.
Yeah, we've all been there.
This, yeah, everybody's had those situations.
No, Laura. Now, if you don't mind, Laura, we're trying to focus on this movie review, so we can try to show that we're gonna be on task and accomplish a goal of reviewing a memorable movie
Right,
from a
right. So,
piece of
so,
time
so
25 years ago or so, 30 years ago, 30 fucking, holy God, 30 years
yeah,
ago.
yep, yep. Absolutely. I think we're probably the only people in history to do a movie review on it as well. So I think that goes in the record books as well. So
At least in the last 20
uh,
years.
at least, hey, we'll hit Drew up here.
As we know, Ben's a learned doctor. Lee spent 14 years in college. I went to ASU. Have you ever
Oh
seen a dorm
Jesus.
room that looked like that shitty? It looks like a jail cell. It was disgusting, and that gross mattress on the
So,
bed. Also, in the dorm scene, dreadlocked appearance from Brendan Fraser.
Encino Man
I,
himself.
so I will say this: freshman dorms at the University of Minnesota did look not that different from there, but they were also like the shitty ones you got put in as a freshman. So,
Yep.
uh,
And I
but it
would
was not
I
it
would
was not
concur.
that crowded of halls, and we didn't have a Coke machine in there either. But the rooms were slightly bigger than that, but not much.
Yeah, we very similar setup. It was basically like a dungeon, all cinder block. Horrible experience, but it brings everybody together. The best place to hang out was at the top of the stairs, and that's where my room was freshman year. So you got a lot of interesting characters come through that hallway hanging out. I'll say that.
Yes, I will say this: my door barely was ever shut, and that was something I could identify with later in this movie.
Yeah. No, you. Why would you shut it? You're weird if you shut it. You needed to let
Yeah,
everybody know what you were doing.
or you were sleeping. Those are the only things that you were
Yep.
doing.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Because you didn't want to miss something. You didn't want to miss something
No,
going on in the hallway, or do you want people to think you were like studying? Because that was for losers.
no, it
All
wasn't.
right.
Studying is how you get through college.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe,
I mean, I'm not a
yeah,
doctor
some
like
people had
you.
to.
I
Oh,
had to. That's for damn sure.
God. Not a doctor. Not a doctor. Laura.
Drew, my dorm at CSU definitely actually looked like that, but we were not co-ed. We were like legitimately split north and south, female and male.
Whoa, I know you went to school in the 1920s.
Well, yeah, to keep you keep it above board at CSU. Nothing bad ever goes on at CSU. Nothing ever.
I don't
I
know.
mean, come on, they produce telly, right? So what
Yeah.
could be
Dola,
worse? Yes, exactly, Laura. I mean,
Laura.
it's a cast of characters, all good people. Nothing could go wrong. All right,
The
so
digging
picking.
I'm hearing says that people have voicemails that might disagree with you. By the way,
Well, all right, we'll hear from Laura and Disc.
Somehow I wound up in the honors dorm, and that is not where I wanted to be.
are you saying that you were without honor? Because that doesn't sound like the Laura I know.
No, no. It sounds maybe like that was too nerdy for her or too dorky for her, not fun for her.
It led her down a path of finding out what people have stuck in their butts at work.
And aren't we all better off for that, Lee? I think we're all
Yes,
better off for that.
a
Yeah.
million percent.
All right, let's hear from Disc.
Hey, what's up, guys? Fun story about Lady Disc. Um, she
There it is.
actually worked at Green Flash. Oh man, that's loud. Sorry. I'm piss on the seat and blame it on my kids. She actually had Pauly Shore come into the restaurant she worked at the Green Flash in San Diego. And he tried to pull the do you know who I am card in. She respectfully put him at the bottom of the list. And that's why I married her.
So really, if
How could
Pauly
she?
Shore
How?
wasn't a
Yeah.
celebrity, then Disc wouldn't have Lady Disc, and he'd be busy impregnating. He'd be happily
Every
married or impregnated with a jacuzzi somewhere.
right, right. And how could she disrespect Pauly Shore like that, Disc? That's crazy. So disrespectful. My God, our guy Pauly Shore, the national treasure. Come on, Disc. Come on. All right, Laura. Laura has one more thought on room situation, and we'll get back to the movie.
Well, my roommate was a graduating senior, so it was a very different college
That's weird.
experience than my girlfriends had at CSU.
You, you, yeah. That probably made it like pretty lame, actually. Unless she was cool and was like, "Hey, let's go party together," but it doesn't sound like that. I don't know.
My freshman roommate was an all-American. I had two roommates. One was an all-American swimmer, and one was an all-American wrestler. And those guys were weird as shit, but awesome guys.
Yeah, I would imagine anybody dedicated to something like that to become all American, you got to be kind of a weirdo.
I was easily the least fit person in the room every moment of the day.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So much testosterone in that.
Yeah,
Speaking of testosterone, we meet Crawl, which did you know that in the first writing of the script, his name wasn't Crawl, it was Snake. And I'm
I did
I'm
not
not
know
sure
that.
this movie, yeah, I'm not sure that this movie would be as good as if his name was Snake. That just doesn't make
No,
sense.
if his name was Weasel, I could see that too, because he's
Yeah,
called that in seemingly every other movie. But I get the crawl, and I think he's got a good story behind it.
right. So Snake just kind of didn't fit, right? Like that he's
Snake
not a
sounds like a
Snake
biker.
character. Yeah, yeah, he's definitely not it. So the Walter Jr. walks in. Crawl is hanging upside down by his
By the
ankles.
way, Walter Jr. being the dad.
Right, sorry, yes, Walter Jr., the dad, meets Crawl, who's hanging upside down by his ankles. And I think it put Walter Jr. in a certain space that this might not be the place where he wants his daughter to go to school. If he had any questions before, he certainly has questions now.
Yes,
So
and then
as a man with a daughter, you're looking out for these sorts of things in your future, right, Lee?
oh God, yes. And not only that, like the next scene when Pauly Shore is walking through the college, his dorm area with a camcorder and zooming in on Becca and referring to her as fresh meat. That's what I'm like. You know what? I don't need a predator watching over
No,
my daughter. I'm good.
right, right. Just the RA, the person you should be trusting in the dorm, yeah, is also being a predator. So that's great
Let's not
and all,
forget that Jared from Subway was also a RA at one time.
right? Right. I think we've all had weird RAs, or not maybe not you, but like someone on the hall. There was a weird RA, and you were just
I
happy you
think
weren't near that person.
I think people who sign up for the RA position are by definition weird because you're
You have to
saying like,
be.
hey, yeah, I wanted to supersede this, which means either that you are either altruistic and a glutton for punishment of people going through a transition time in their life, some doing it really poorly, or you're just outright predator looking for people who are vulnerable and needing a
Yeah.
friend in a institutional like form. That's you. That's either way, you're probably a bad person.
Right.
Oh,
So that's what happened to Jared from Subway, and I'll never tell anybody to be a RA because you don't want to be associated with Jared from Subway at all. All right. So we meet Crawl. Dad's freaked, comes back across the hall. This is when we meet the girlfriend of the
yeah.
roommate. There's a little smooch. Brother loses it in his pants. And then they're packing up to leave, right? And the brother, this is when the brother says, "Give her a little smooch for me," right? So you know where he's at in his world of thought, right? As a 14-year-old boy, he's heavily going after one thing and one thing only.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
but then this is the scene you just referenced, is kind of the next scene where Crawl is camcordering everyone down the hallway, um, and follows
He
Becca
announced
into
he
her
does
room,
announce that there are quiet hours, no party between 5 and 6 a.m.
which was helpful. Which, I mean,
Yeah.
that makes sense, right? That's being very respectful. So, um, so yeah, I think this is the scene where you realize that, well, maybe he's not a creep, right? Maybe he's a good guy. He's just kind of a weird guy, right?
Well, he
Like,
says he's there to pop her trunk after referring to her as grade A prime beef. So, like, he is definitely a creep.
yeah, he's fishing, right? He's just, I mean, he's wearing underwear and a uh Hugh Hefner like smoking jacket.
But to
So,
be fair, I spent most of my freshman year of college wearing the same thing.
oh well, I mean, that's not surprising. You are Van Wilder, Mr. Lee.
Thank you.
So that's not surprising. You got to let everybody know what you were all about and what you were packing. So wearing just
There
underwear
was
and a
a sock
smoking.
in that underwear as well.
Well, you had to keep warm. It was Minnesota after all. Come on, Lee.
Exactly. You get it. You get it.
Hmm. All right. So he pops her trunk, right?
Yeah,
And
and Becca's
he's,
looking noticeably freaked out by him. Like
yep.
that he is obviously not as wholesome, but yet every bit as pervy as Travis.
You 100%, 100%. Not maybe such a leering way, but in just a, this guy's kind of a weird, get him away from me sort of way. But Becca gets away from him by saying, "I have to go to orientation," right? And that was her out, is that she has to go to orientation in that exact moment. Doesn't have to unpack, doesn't have to put anything away. She's got to go to orientation right then and there. So she gets away from him, and time in this movie jumps very quickly. So the
Yeah,
next part of the,
then she
right, the
calls
next,
Travis.
yeah,
She calls
but we don't
Travis
know
and
if
Travis
it's that day,
it,
that night, anything. It's just
no,
she just
but we
calls
know
him.
Travis stays not in college. She's staying behind working.
Right. And he's 30. He has bills to pay, right?
That's true. But and it's good for him to go back to school and finally stick with it after Vietnam and become
Yeah,
a high school graduate at 30 years old.
right. Right. So
Not
so
so
she
good of
calls
him for dating a
Travis.
17-year-old while he's 30. What up, Telly?
Our guy Telly. So anyway, so uh so she calls Travis, and Travis's pretty much response was, "Well, we'll see you in like a couple months and I'm going to get it," right? That's
Oh
basically
yeah.
what he said to her. Didn't really like care that she was having a hard time. Basically just said, "Well, you'll be home in 3 months so I can put it in you."
Yep. Then
And
they fast forward like what 2 months ahead to Halloween.
right, right, right. So you see now a party scene, Halloween. This is where Brendan Fraser shows up as Encino Man. So there's a tie-in to Encino Man where Pauly Shore or Crawl kind of like looks at him like, "I don't think I know you," but anybody who's seen
And
Encino Man knows
he
why.
pulls the frog out of his helmet or his
Yep,
fruit hat and eats it.
right, right. So so you see just a raging party going on in the room that was
Well,
thrown by,
almost raging. One person's
y-
not raging.
no, well, she's raging in a different way. She's raging
She's
with
raging.
much anger.
She's raging in a 1950s housewife way.
Yeah,
She's got literally on the sweater that she put on to sneak out of the house with Travis in like the second scene.
yep, Yep.
And
She's
she
just walking
walks
down
in
the
with her
hallway.
yeah, with her
Do,
laundry,
yep.
and
Yep.
it turns out there's a kegger going on in her room and some fat dude sitting on her whittled toy horse
Well, so at first I thought that was Earthquake from WWF
or Vader.
or Vader, but I in my mind I just had a picture of Earthquake. Uh,
Not a
and
small guy.
no, no. So when I rewatched this movie, I I I don't think I was thinking of Earthquake, but was it Typhoon? There was another guy,
Oh,
the
it could
natural
yeah,
disasters, remember?
hurricane.
Something I can't think of his name, but he was dressed up like a sailor. And so that was probably the guy I was thinking of. But yes, this very large man dressed as a woman was sitting on what you later find out is Pappy's carved wood and whittled wood, I should say, whittled wood that she brought with her, very special. And this is when Becca freaks out and is like, I need to get the F out of here.
Yeah,
Right?
she gave it 2 months and no more.
Yep. So we have a couple messages, so I'll get to those. I want to try to keep up here. So Laura,
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Thank you for hosting. My thoughts on Son in Law include it was a good soundtrack. Loved it. I was very excited to see Patrick Renna and Tiffany Amber Thiessen because who doesn't love either one of them? Pauly Shore's very annoying. Is he like that in every movie? I don't know that I've ever seen a movie with him in
Yes.
it. Travis is a
yeah.
bad guy, like a seriously bad guy. And we decided, well, that was an experience. And that is all. Happy Thanksgiving.
It's more than an experience. I mean, more than an experience. Come on. Come on. So this is the penultimate Thanksgiving movie. Nothing warmer. Nothing warms my heart more than this movie. Come on.
I'm gonna say this. Like, I'm not. It's a bad movie, but I did enjoy. At the end, I wish there was another half hour of seeing
What
Becca get it on.
happens?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
but I'll also say this
Absolutely.
too. Actually, I'll save my thought on this till we go about another two scenes.
All right. Drew.
Maybe this is a South Dakota thing, but the brother makes so many sexual references about his own sister. It's fucking disgusting.
Amen. And that might very well be a South Dakota thing, because that sure as fuck is weird.
Yeah, and that there's a thread throughout the entire movie of the family like celebrating each other's sexual escapades, right? Like
Well,
this
no,
comes up multiple times.
I would say that at this point, like we just think the son's the Zach's a pervert,
Right,
but we've come out later to find out that it's basically Puritanian life he's grown up in with Ozzy and Harriet as his parents.
right, right. And but yeah, we'll come back to this point because there's a scene later on in the movie where you're like, no way in hell does like a mom, daughter, dad talk like
I
this,
can
like to
think of
each other.
three scenes that we'll reference later on
Yeah,
that come back to this point.
yep, yeah, I know exactly. So getting us timeline back on the timeline.
Yeah.
She
So
goes to the phone, picks up the phone, says, "I'm out of here," and that's when Pauly Shore, dressed as the Chiquita Banana Woman, right, walks up to her and says, "No, you're not. You're not leaving. I'm not allowing that because Wiley, you've never
because
been
she
off
hasn't,
campus."
yeah, you've never actually tried living here. Give it 5 minutes, you 5 minutes, and come back to my room with me, which is but he does kick. He comes back to the room. There's a party going on in his room, and he kicks everybody out of the room. He's like, "Nope, out of here, guys. I got this fresh meat. I need to go explore. Get the hell out of my room because I need to go shut the door now as I'm with a person who technically is under my supervision as RA." This is a predator move right here. This is where Polly Shore should be. Think about being arrested.
But he's a nice guy. He's doing it because he wants her to succeed, Lee. He's not trying to do the Travis to her, right? There's a difference.
Yeah, but then he pulls out a picture of himself as a total nerd.
Yeah, which gels with her because she's a total freaking dork, right? Miss
I
Valedictorian. Puritan.
She was cool in South Dakota, but yeah, she was a big nerd.
Yeah, I don't even think she was cool in South Dakota.
I think she was. She was banging the quarterback, probably
Well, she wasn't banging him. They were
finger banging.
heavy kissing and finger
Yeah,
banging. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, groping.
So so
Travis led the league in
Crawl
doubles.
getting stopped at home. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So Crawl basically like appeals to her, like, I'm a dork too. I don't have any friends, but I gave this a shot, so you should too.
Okay,
And
and wait, and I'm watching her now, and I forgot. So she gets up to walk away. He reaches up to stop her and promptly puts his hand right on her chest.
yeah, I I okay, I've a hand up. I've seen this movie probably 40 times, okay? Probably. Not on the Van Wilder for you level, but certainly to a level where
It's
there's
probably your equivalent
little.
to Van Wilder, right?
It could be. It's probably where, like, I've caught just about everything to catch, but it's been many years since I've watched it again. So like there are certain things that I've caught watching it now, and that was one of them where he just puts his hand out right on her chest and stops her. You're absolutely right. It was like, that's weird. I wouldn't just do that to some random person like that. That's kind of strange. But, he's didn't do it in a weird, domineering, leering way, right? He was did it as a creep. He just didn't want her to leave right in that moment. That's normal, right?
Yeah. Then he goes buys her a brand new like short dress, and they promptly throw out her old clothes.
Right. Yeah, they just say we don't need that anymore. And she gets her hair cut and
And by
dyed.
cut, she gets like a foot cut off.
Right, right. She gets her hair dyed like an orange color because it's so dark that when she went and would go brown, it just turned orange. Which I guess you could do that. But again,
Not a
the
fan, but
time
that's okay.
thing, yeah, no, it was much better the other way. But the
This is like
time
one hell of a
thing,
3 day period.
right? Like we're jumping, we're in different outfits, different times of the day.
Because we're
So
this is clearly November because Halloween she was ready to leave.
right, right.
Th-
Well,
then she
you
ends up going out getting her hair cut, and then she at least either had one day where she bought 3 outfits and changed them all, and then decides she's getting a tattoo from Flea.
yeah. So the best thing I think I caught in this movie after watching it now, coming back to it for a while, was Flea says, "Well, what do you want?" And she goes, "I don't know, something feminine."
He
And
says
that's when
he's right
Flea
over there.
says, "He's standing next to me," which I about died because I never heard that. Like I just wasn't something I caught before. So I certainly died in that moment. And little trivia piece here, Lee, is she actually had that tattoo on her foot. The actress has a tattoo of that on her foot. So they just wrote this in of her getting a tattoo, but she already had the butterfly
Well,
tattoo on her foot.
I would imagine that because then again to your point with the timeline. Ben, do you have any tattoos?
No, I don't. I want
Okay,
to, but I just haven't.
I I have 3, and I'll tell you this: like you get them, and they don't look good for a week or more. Like you have
Yep.
to like
You
basically like
heal.
they have to like heal and peel and get better. So for hers to look like that, that's clearly a tattoo that like again going back to your timeline. We know this is a Thanksgiving movie. We're in November, so we're talking about a 4 week period, probably closer
Yep.
to 3 weeks period. And for her to go like from kind of embrace this lifestyle, get the haircut, get the new thing, have her new best friend to get a tattoo, like there's like a day left before Thanksgiving at this point if she's operating. And she went from being clean cut now she's having a beer on the beach with Polly Shore. Not to mention the fact that she's 18, 19. She's not of legal drinking age.
Right. Right. He just well, one, he drops the can in her lap, which it's a slippery can, so that happens, right?
Yeah,
Like boop, they just
especially with
dropped
that
this.
California humidity.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So yeah, he's still acting, his creepy ass self, his weird ass self. But she's come. You could see the confidence in her is at all-time high. I mean, she's rocking a leopard print bikini, right? Sitting
Yep.
out there staring at these muscle-bound,
Well,
steroided
yeah,
dudes.
because Pauly Shore is checking out some hot chicks in with binoculars, and she grabs it from him and then just starts staring at the steroid dude next to him.
And that's when Pauly Shore says, but what about Travis? Right? So
Yep.
bringing him back up into the picture to make everyone not forget that she's still, attached, betrothed almost to this gentleman, Travis. So this next scene, Lee, is also what part of the timeline are we on? And when you said about her, being out there in public with him drinking beer, she's 18. They're now in a bar, right?
Yeah.
With mud wrestling, sitting at a table, seemingly having drinks. Now, she doesn't
Well,
look like
she
she
could
has
be.
anything right in
She looks
front
like
of
she's
her.
like a Coke or a cherry Coke or something.
Right, right. But she wouldn't even be allowed to be in this bar at 18 on a college
Probably not.
campus. Are you kidding me? Right?
Probably not. Because
So,
sometimes they, if she's off campus, they might let you in the bar if you're like sober cabbing it. But for her to be so comfortable with this guy who was, she was clearly creeped out by a few weeks ago, that now she's gonna go with him, get a tattoo, get a haircut, get a new thing, start hanging out with him nonstop, and then now she then quickly signs him up to be a mud wrestler as well. After he's got a front row seat to watch the hot wrestlers earlier, she slips the announcer some cash and gets him in there with a gal roughly the size of pre-surgery Dola.
oh, yeah, she played the old switcheroo on him because he wanted the first two, right? He wanted
Didn't
the
we all?
yeah, well, absolutely. Uh, yeah, he gets the old switcheroo, and I have to ask the question: Have you seen the movie Stripes?
Yes. God,
Right,
yes.
that movie's um,
That's the gold
mud
standard of mud
wrestling,
wrestling.
right? That I was gonna say that is the upper echelon, upper
Yes.
upper echelon of that movie.
God
Of
rest John Candy.
yes, so so yeah, so getting back to mud wrestles, the big bunny obviously squashes Carl, but or Carl Crawl. I'm going to be the Walter Jr. here, calling him by different names, but that's when you kind of know, like you can see it in Crawl's eyes, like she gets it. Like this is where it's clicked for her. She's bought in. She wants to
Well,
be here. She's happy.
and quick tidbit, one of the mud wrestlers in that scene was actually a gorgeous lady of wrestling, Glow
Oh,
wrestler
that makes
named
sense.
Hollywood.
Okay, that makes sense because I mean, why not? They're right there. This would fall in line with that. So we go back to the dorm. We're now back in the dorm, and it's like the day before everybody leaves, right? So
Yep.
timeline wise, yeah, we're very much right on Thanksgiving week, and this is when you realize, oh, Crawl has no place to go.
Well, not only that, like Travis, she's talking to Travis on the phone, and Travis is like, "We got some things to talk about. We got big things." And he's like, "Love you," and she goes, "Yeah, talk to you soon."
Yep,
Like you
yep,
could tell, like there's a feeling of distance there.
yep. And I think, I mean, I don't, your freshman year, I think a lot, I think, anybody who had that experience, you kind of get where like, think by Thanksgiving, life is very different. And life being a freshman in the dorms, meeting new people, new friends, it's not all hunky dory. Like for her, where had a perfect life living with Travis. If she never left, nothing would have changed. But being in the dorms as a freshman, like people who aren't there just don't understand it. So I had when I was a freshman, I had a girlfriend who was a year younger. So I
Look at
resonated with
you,
that.
robbing the
I know,
cradle.
but I resonated with that because it was like she would call and I'd be like, yeah, I got stuff to do. Like I'm busy, sorry, right? Because like
Mhm.
there's always something going on.
Well, not
No
only
time to
that,
talk.
they say like, oh, you got so much more time now, but it's like, no, like for me especially, like there was no time. It was like class or football or studying or trying to have some kind of social life or trying to eat. And
Trying to eat.
I I was eating like 5 meals a day back then, and
Oh, I bet you were. Put on those poundage.
I put on 100 pounds in college, over 100 pounds in college.
Oh my God, dude. Oh my
I
God.
grew I grew 4 inches and gained 120 pounds in college.
Well, we didn't need to know what you grew in your pants, but we appreciate the update. None
Yes,
the
I went
same.
from 1 inch to 5 inches.
So,
Unfortunately, there's no ladies on here to take appreciation of that note.
right, right. Just disc. Anyway, so we we see the next scene. She's flying back on an American Eagle plane, right? They land. The little brother has got the best sign, which says go home,
Go
Rebecca,"
back.
which oh yeah, no, it says go home.
Yeah, go
It
home,
should
Rebecca.
say go back, but it says go home, Rebecca, which he then flips over. He, welcome home, right? And she gets off the
Well,
plane. Go ahead,
here's the
go ahead,
thing
D.
where this is like pretty fucking lazy movie making, or it was purposely bad. So they have the family right inside, like right on the side of the runway, like it's like this is pre 9/11, so you don't have all that security. But it says Vasco Airport.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Vasco is in Southern California. It's a town in Southern California. Like
So,
there's no Vasco, South Dakota. They didn't even spring for that, and she comes off the plane looking like a stripper, and it's
right,
awesome.
right. So one, you're saying you think there might have been a budget issue where they just would have shot all this stuff while they were out in California all
Dakota.
at the same time.
Well,
Well,
not
out in LA all at the same time.
because I mean, I assume there's farming somehow in Southern California. Some if you go out far enough. But
Sure.
my thing is, why would you put the family right in front of the sign that says
Just
the
move
name
them.
of the
Yeah.
airport? Yeah, move them or change the fucking angle of the camera so
Right.
that you can still
Right.
see the concourse or whatever, and you don't need to have that there. That's like what they have. What's it in Troy where you have the airplane flying overhead? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
dude,
Oops.
yeah,
Yeah.
like literally a little bit of editing work goes a long ways.
Right. Right. So
But
so
anyways, though,
she
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Becca
So
comes off the
she's
plane and she's looking brand new, Becca.
right. She's looking smoking. She's not recognizable to the family. Travis is there looking really disgusted by her appearance. And then Crawl gets off the plane and they're all like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Cuz he's dressed like I don't know.
He's dressed like Cher, 1970s
Yeah.
Cher.
Yeah. So they're like, what's this guy doing? Why does he got a camera? And he's coming back home with us. So, well, sure. They all jump in the truck, and obviously there's no space for Crawl, so he's hanging out, rolling around in the bed, right, banging on the truck.
But
And
so here's my thought about this too, because Travis isn't in the truck with him.
oh yeah, he is. He is.
Oh yeah, he
He's in
is.
the
I take it
truck.
back. Yeah, he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
He's. I was
Yeah.
thinking. I was thinking like, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, if I'd be Travis, say, hey, Becca, why don't you come ride with me, and they'll let Crawl.
Right. Get to know
Like
your parents.
exactly. Well, I can reacquaint myself with your body.
Right. Right. So they get back to the house, and this is where Crawl really is on one because he's never been clearly he's never been in like nature before. So this
No.
absolutely blows his mind that there's like green grass and earth and shit. So he's absolutely mind blown. And this is, we get to see Pappy again, and Pappy seems to be the only one who was really excited to see Becca um, upon her immediate return. Like he actually looked
Yeah,
happy.
he's not shocked by her appearance.
No, but he does make a snide comment about her appearance. But at least he seemed somewhat uh, intrigued and happy. But going back to the timeline here, um, I don't know about you, but I don't think South Dakota in or near Thanksgiving is warm enough normally that everyone could just be like chilling outside in like next to nothing, right? No coats, nothing
So
else.
let me be the expert on this one, since Minnesota and South Dakota are adjacent states, and it is roughly that time of year right now here, right now.
Right,
It
right.
is way too fucking cold. It like right now outside it is 40 degrees. Probably right now it's
Yeah,
colder than 40 degrees, but that's the temperature outside. And they're wearing like a spring coat like it's 60s, maybe
yeah,
50s. No. Like this is clearly central or southern California climate wise. And I can
right,
guarantee you this too. There are not green leaves on trees. And if all the leaves are yellow or different colored and they're on the ground or cleared up and the grass is not green, none of this stuff
nope,
is going on here.
no. It's
If
not
you're a
sunny.
farm in yeah, if you're a farm in the Dakotas, things are starting to get dry. Not only that, your harvest is already brought in. There is no
Yeah,
way in
you're
hell you're bringing the stuff in now. You should be done with that stuff.
right.
You should have
Now we would
your corn would all be in by October,
right.
mostly
We would have
September.
to call our guy Kyle in Scotty to confirm that. But you're absolutely right, Lee. There's no corn on fields anymore. It's gone. It's
Yeah,
done. It's down.
your beans are
So
in, everything.
yep, yep. So we do have a message from our guy Dola, who is recuperating, as we said. So let's hear what Dola has to say. I feel like this was a movie for Dola, right, Lee? I mean, this he
Yes.
really enjoyed this.
I
All
don't know
right,
if he
Dola.
enjoyed it, but he should have though.
Yeah, here's Dola.
Hello, my dear friends. I am very under the weather, and I just wanted to check in and say thank you, Ben, and thank you, SuperLee, for handling tonight. Hope to be back on Friday. Also, this might be the worst movie I've ever seen, with the exception of Carla Gugino. As a nubile actress, my goodness. Thanks, brothers.
Well,
So
he
I'm a
can't.
little hurt. You didn't appreciate Tiffany Amber Thiessen as well, because she
Right.
also was a ray of light, maybe two of them in this movie,
Well, yeah, shining personality and acting ability.
and dancing
Right.
ability, triple threat.
Dance. It's just three shining rays of light.
Plus,
All
she's got
right.
an nice
So
car.
yeah, yeah, she know how to drive it too. So all right. So getting back to now, they're on the farm. Crawl's acting a fool, right? Running around like he's never touched grass in his life. And all of a sudden he meets probably one of the best pieces of this movie, Theo, right? And Theo is this good old boy farmhand that's been helping out Walter Sr. and Walter Jr. for years on the farm. And he ostensibly saves Crawl's life right at the beginning of the movie, because Crawl was going to climb in the pen with the
The bull.
ginormous bull.
Yeah.
So Carl tries to give him a hug, and immediately you realize that Theo's not about that game, and probably slightly homophobic, and other indications you find out later in this movie. He's probably an all around bad guy. However, as a foil to Crawl, it's a perfect pairing, right? It's a perfect match of
I feel like
knowing.
he's been in like a whole bunch of like earnest movies.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what else he's been in, but like you said, he's a character actor. Perfect, exactly perfect role for this guy. Um, so Crawl's life is saved, and then we see Travis's true intentions when they walk into the barn and they're trying to have some alone time. And you don't know if he wants to put one in her or
Oh, he
put
wants
one
to put
on
one in her.
her.
I can promise you
Sure.
that he wants to put one in her.
But in that moment, we're not really sure what his true intentions are. Um, and at the same time, Crawl is being, introduced and reintroduced to everybody, getting familiarized with the farm, the house. But we get back out to the barn, and what does Travis do?
Depth right in
Travis,
some cow shit.
yes, yep. And then he proceeds to get down on one knee, which, you know, probably was a bit shocking for our girl Becca, who was, having major reservations. But
Oh yeah, because she's discovering her new personality. She's discovering her new self, and Travis is part of the old world, the old Becca.
right. And I think this is Travis's way. I think Travis was thinking, this is how I'm going to seal the deal. I put a ring on her finger and I put my dick inside her. Like, that was it. That was the transaction he was looking for, right?
Yeah, equal trade.
Right, right. So clearly she has a bit of a reaction to this, and she just says, I can't talk about this right now. And that's the end of that. And so Travis is like, well, we'll talk about it when we get to the uh, uh,
Dinner.
dinner tonight. Yes, thank you.
Dinner at the country club,
Yeah,
which
where
literally is in
everybody,
the country.
yeah, the weirdest thing. It seemed like everybody was there at the same time, waiting for dinner at the same time. Like no one was actually eating; they were all just sitting there, which is kind of weird too. Um, but before we get to dinner, we learn what's going on in Zach's room
God
as
bless him.
Crawl's gonna have to bunk with Zach now, but we learn what's going on in Zach's room.
Basically, Zach is Pauly Shore, Crawl, only like 10 years early.
Right, right. He's up to some shenanigans in his room, that clearly is beyond the mom and dad. They don't go into the room. He's playing around with computers, and we learn that that's makes the dad very uncomfortable because he doesn't understand it, right? He doesn't understand why
Oh,
he
yeah.
sits and clicks keyboards all day. But but we are at a point where we learn that Zach doesn't really want him around because we doesn't understand what he can offer him, except for the fact that Pauly Shore is some kind of magician in terms of hacking.
Yeah,
And our
because he's
guy, go
because
ahead.
our boy Zach's like, why does my computer not work? And Pauly Shore's like, I know a shortcut, and he starts typing in some weird ass language that's not English and not using. It's not even the symbols. Like there's not on my keyboard. Like it's literally just some typing, like some mathematical equation someone's scribbling down, and all of a sudden it makes everything on his computer work 3 times faster. And we find out that Pauly Shore grew up in in Vegas at a casino.
Yep, yep. And so that's where he learned how to code in Stargate SG-1 language is when he was at
Yes.
Caesar's Palace playing by himself. So you can instantaneously in that moment see that there's a click between the two of them. Like they're on the same page now.
He
They
won him over.
exactly made him a sandwich and everything. And this might we'll take let you know what let's take a couple calls. We have Drew here leaves a message because I think we're at a kind of a good spot to take that. All right, Drew.
I believe the barn is the first time we see Travis without his Letterman jacket, which, as we
No, he's
all
still
know,
wearing it.
is something
He's still
really
wearing it.
cool guys do once they're out of high school.
Yeah, I yeah. The
First off,
country
Drew,
club is
I'll be wearing my letter jacket on Saturday at the Gopher game again.
well, of course you got to let everybody know. You got to flex on them, Lee. Come
Yes.
on, come on. But yeah, so I think it's a country club is the first time you see him without that on in a public venue when he's not acting as a 30-year-old man.
Well, to be fair, like he's still in his hometown, but he's wearing his letter jacket while he's a 30-year-old man and he's working a full-time job like a grown man would. He's
Got to
working.
hold on to that high school high, buddy.
Yeah.
Got to let everybody know. That's how he picks up the chicks. He's like, "Do you see my Letterman jacket that literally has no medals sewed on it at all? Like
I know
none of
he
it."
got just the jacket and none of the letters.
Right, right. So what did you actually do there, Travis? Like
Now
he
that being
wasn't a
said,
football
our
star.
college ones just have a singular letter. They don't have sports in the sleeves either.
Right, right. Because it separates the college and high school thing. But like when you're a high school athlete, that shit is just stocked full of stuff. They just give stuff away
Yeah.
that you sew on your Letterman jacket.
Especially at a school that size. At
Yep,
a school
they're
that size, he should have had 4 or 5 sports, academics, weightlifting, the fine arts, everything, because they need everyone to do everything in order to have a team that does anything.
right. There should have been so many medals on the letter that that the jacket would always hang to one side. Like that's how that should have been for him. But
Yeah.
it wasn't
The
because
left
Travis
the left
was
arm hung low on mine.
Of course it did. Um, but that's not what Travis was not about that life. He was about chasing young women and
Young Becca.
doing, yes. All right, Drew.
Pauly Shore was typing in the language that Cam Newton uses in his Instagram captions. And if you haven't seen those, please go take a look.
It's just,
Not wrong.
oh my God. I've always wondered how goddamn long it must take him to type out a simple sentence, right? Because like
I think what he does is he has a second keyboard installed on his phone.
with just a bunch of random ass
Yeah,
hieroglyphics. Because I cannot imagine, because you have to click and hold. Like that shit is it just takes seconds. It just takes seconds, but like to type out a whole sentence, I mean, you're taking minutes to do that. A caption for an Instagram would probably take at least 6 hours. It's got to.
that's why I have just the Hebrew keyboard on mine. It just goes real quicker and it types right to left.
Gotcha. Well, I have to check that out. I'll have to see if there's a Cam Newton keyboard.
Wingdings.
Yeah, exactly.
But in this scene now, going back to this, Becca comes back and finds Crawl. It's like we gotta talk, and this is where we have moment one for me that tells me that this is a somewhat sexually open family
Yep.
because Becca says, "Hey, let me go and I'll tell mom and dad about your Playboys," and Pauly Shore goes, "Well, which ones you got?" And Zach goes, "Oh, I got a subscription." He's like 13, 14 years old. He's got a subscription to Playboy.
Right.
Like
Right.
that takes a credit card. That takes a lot of that takes, getting the mail every day, or it takes parents that are definitely on board with these things. In
Yeah.
1993, I'm thinking as parents that are on board with these things.
It has to be. It has to be because there's no way that he's getting the mail ahead of everybody else at that with Pappy
No,
around. Pappy's
well,
pulling that mail. That's what Pappy's hanging on to. Pappy's waiting for that mail to come in every day. So
or
he's getting the
the
mail.
mom, the mom's
Yeah.
not working. Dad's a
No.
farmer, like so he's at the house, and Pappy's at the house. And the kid's got presumably has school. That means that he's got the least chance of being there where the mail comes every day.
Right. Right. So yeah, I'm not surprised the older sister was going to rat him out about his playboys. That is not surprising behavior at all for a sibling, right? You try to hang over your brother, your sibling's head as much as you can, anything you have over them. But yeah, you're absolutely
Oh,
right.
I
That
disagree wholeheartedly. My brother and I do not do that at all.
Oh, come on, Lee. Come on. You're not that
No,
perfect.
no, he is though. But also he's like 6 years. He's 6 years younger than me, so like we didn't grow up being rivals or anything like that.
Sure. Sure. But you're saying if you knew something he did, well maybe he was that perfect that he didn't do anything wrong, so that you never had the
He once
opportunity.
peed on someone's house.
The shame, the horror. How
I
is he still alive? How is your
I don't know
parents not beating him into submission at this point? My God.
because I did a lot of worse things, and
Oh.
I kind of paved the path for him to not have to worry about doing anything wrong.
Oh boy. Oh Lee.
I
So
digress.
yeah. So now so uh Becca tells Crawl, hey, he proposed. I want nothing to do with it.
Or
He's
he's
going to
about to
propose.
propose. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to propose at dinner tonight, and I'm just not cool with it, and I'm not ready for it. And she's like, "I'll figure something out. Like we'll figure it out. Something we'll figure it out." And that's when Crawl's like, "Yeah, we'll figure it out. You're going to take me to go shopping so I can buy some hick wear. I want to look like y'all, and I want
Here's
you to yeah
in this entire movie. Here's what I'm kind of curious about. And maybe it's like the whole '90s and movie problem, but when I was in college, I didn't have the money to go buy a whole new wardrobe, change my hair, get a tattoo, and all these things. So my parents knowing about it, I didn't have that kind of cash flowing around.
right
And if I'm in college for 7 years, unless I'm Van Wilder, how is Pauly Shore going out and buying a whole new wardrobe and a plane ticket with a day notice to go from California to, well, obviously Southern California, but to South Dakota with a day's notice? Like we're talking about hundreds of dollars at least, which now is probably thousands of dollars in today's money. And
so
his job is an RA.
Yeah, I'm getting the picture, and I think you don't really go into his backstory, but my understanding of the backstory is he was living in Vegas, going to Caesar's Palace. his parents or his parent must have been involved with gambling and the casino lifestyle. So I'm getting that he was a kind of a rich kid or had money available to him, that money wasn't really an option because he was in college for what, 7 years, right?
But much like
So
Van Wilder.
yeah, I don't think money was the issue for him. I don't get that sense. I think, drive and wanting to stay the course on something certainly was, but I don't get the sense for him money was an issue. Now for her, I don't think money was an issue either, because farming and having that much land is pretty lucrative, probably as well. In the 90s, it was pretty lucrative. So I don't think they were hard up on cash either. But you're
They
right.
lived they lived a modest lifestyle. But
Hmm.
also, while they're out shopping clothes, that's where you get reintroduced to Tiffany Amber Thiessen, who is looking very good.
Oh, very good. But before you meet Tiffany Amber Thiessen, you get the sense that the locals don't really have a good feeling for Crawl, as that one baby. The mom like scarfed the baby and like took the baby away from him, so he wouldn't bother the baby at all, which is probably the
Yeah.
right thing to do.
Especially when Crawl comes out of the room, gets introduced to Tiffany Amber Thiessen and wants to bang her, and then promptly has assless chaps on.
Right, right. Which is, perfect for the movie, that he, rocks assless chaps. I wish, that was probably something that should have just continued throughout the whole movie. But anyway, so you're right. So there he's off trying to get on Tiffany Amber Thiessen,
Justifiably.
asking her, yeah, asking if she models, and pulling basically every ripcord that he can to get her interested. And they basically say, hey, we're going out to dinner tonight, nice seeing ya. And the whole family walks in without Crawl, which is weird,
Well,
right? Like,
they took turns. Like the dad was like trying to get away, and then you see Crawl come in with bike shorts on, and like he looks like the gayest cowboy of all time.
right, but he walks in with Walter Jr. Like,
Yeah,
everybody else is there except for Walter Jr. and Crawl. And then Crawl comes walking in with, his overalls that he cut into shorts, and his boots that he cut into like slide in slippers. But
yep.
yet everybody that's there, like,
They're
there's
dressed like
some
people at
people.
Matlock.
Right, right. Like, again, it's a country club and you're supposed to come dressed up, but my God, what this was like, the extras from Matlock were just let out and they just went over to the movie set,
Yeah,
right?
a lot of gray suits.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, do you know who's not noticeably not at the country club scene?
Tiffany Anderson.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Um so so I don't know who's all there. It's kind of a weird scene to me, because it feels like all of these people were there for them, right? Like, Travis pulled some strings and got all of their favorite people there, because he stops the entire dinner for all of these presumable strangers, right? Or people that are in the city, town, whatever. He stops the whole damn thing, gets
And he
up with
says
his.
they're all family.
Right. But yet, nobody really acted like they knew these people walking in, which is kind of, again, weird. So so he stands up with his bolo tie on and
Good
says,
look, by the way.
I
Good look.
yeah, yeah, I love you. You're the person I want to spend the rest of my, 40 years of my life, because I'm so old. I'm probably gonna die next week. Life with. And that's when the biggest, like, cover up scheme happens, and the plot really kicks in at this point for the movie. We're now like 40 minutes into the movie, and we finally figure out what really this movie's all about.
Yeah, because Becca's so freaked out she stomps on Crawl's foot, and Crawl's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And he quickly wings it, like, "You're too late there, buddy. I already, I only met her 3 months ago, and you're like going out with her, and she didn't tell you about me." And then she says, "I'm just a friend." Cue the Biz Marquee. But we're actually engaged already, even though she doesn't have a ring on her finger.
Right. So in that moment, what was Becca hoping he would say? Right? Like, what is the only logical thing to say in that moment? We're already
I would
engaged.
say that would probably be the most like likely thing to say. I mean, I would say stop stomping on my foot, talk to the guy yourself, and say no.
Well, right, right. But she's 18, remember, and
That's
he's
true.
30.
But but
So
but much like yeah, I was like much like him, I'm middle aged, so I would expect
right,
that kind of a maturity.
right. So so she freaks out and has trouble with words. Clearly, throughout most of this movie, she has trouble difficult has a lot of difficulty telling people what's on her mind. So so the big charade starts where Crawl is engaged to Becca, and they get down the stairs, and that's where Travis confronts him and gives Crawl the old 1-2 what for, and breaks Crawl's nose. I think, I don't know, maybe didn't break
Yeah,
it, but certainly
completely fucked
bloodies
him
it.
up.
Yeah,
And here's the
yeah.
thing: we find out later, like he should not have been able to do that.
No, no, absolutely. But also, like, no one pressed charges. He just assaulted this man. Like,
You
it,
remember? You got to remember. See, this is where I can speak up because you were a mere single-digit child back then. Back then, in the '90s, you could fuck somebody up and not go to jail over it.
what a time to be alive, Lee. What a time to be alive.
It's
I
back when the
really
men
missed
were
it.
men.
Yeah, I really missed it being 6. But I mean, okay, it's just a punch. Like, get over it, move on. But still, like, Drew Blood, the man, he got the best of him. But now we're in a situation where the family, who thought they were getting the perfect son-in-law, Travis, are now going to be saddled with the thought of the person that they just met but mere hours ago, or maybe a day ago, I don't know, but hours ago, is now their new son-in-law, and this is not going to be okay, right?
I,
This
I
is
would
where we
say,
leave it.
I would guess it's hours ago, and I would guess the biggest shock is that both the mom and the dad probably thought Crawl was gay.
Whatever would give you that impression. Do
Having
you
known
think
people
it?
from South Dakota,
Well,
I think very much when they saw people like today, if someone dressed like Pauly Shore walked through South Dakota, that would not be a straight person.
no, no. So, but do you think if they thought he was gay, do you think they would put him in Zach's room though?
You gotta remember, he wasn't the assless chaps, short shorts cowboy
The
until
moment
later.
he
So
walked through the
maybe,
door, yeah, maybe,
when he was
maybe.
just dressed as 1970s Cher, maybe they thought, oh, well, maybe she's a lesbian. We can't have her with her daughter.
We've already seen that once. That was enough.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe that's why they put him in the sunroom. Like, hey, you seem to like this the first time.
right, right. All right, our guy Stu left us a nice message here. Let's get to Stu.
Hey, look, everybody would have known what LA culture is no matter where you are because it's in the early 80s. And he should have seriously just given it to her and hooked up with and stayed with her because she's more pure than any of the hags in LA. But I digress. And happy Thanksgiving, you guys. Enjoy your family and your friends and your time away doing the things you like, which is mostly eating and hanging out and drinking. Anyway, be good, have fun. Talk to you soon.
Much love, Stu. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. That's what this movie's
Yes.
all about, right, Lee?
Thanksgiving and Tiffany Amber Thiessen. And Carla, whatever her last name is, Becca.
Yeah, Gugino or whatever.
Yeah.
um, all right. So and the mom, like Cindy Pritchard. I mean, in this movie, for 100% could have gotten it. Um, so yeah. So we get back home after they ride in the back of the truck from the country club, right? So everyone just piled into one vehicle now, even though they have multiple vehicles. They chose to ride in the back of the truck on their way and from the country club. And this is where they decide to continue with the charade and move forward with the fact that Crawl and Becca are engaged and madly in love. And that's when Walter Sr., Walter Jr., and Theo all say, what what are your plans to support Becca? And they have it out there on the porch.
Oh yeah,
And what were his plans, Lee? What were his plans?
stay in school, get a 9 to 5, become a farmer.
In that order. And I think backpacking through Europe was like one
Yeah,
of the other stops in that, but 100% he ends with I want to become a farmer, which tickles Walter Jr.'s funny bone, and makes Walter Sr. about throw up. But Walter Jr. says, you want to be a farmer, buddy? We'll have at it. You and Theo can go out there and farm at the crack ass of dawn. Um, which is interesting because he didn't say, I will go out there with you and farm. He says,
oh no, 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 no.
Theo's
Yeah,
got you.
Theo is a ginormous man, and who
Yeah.
no surprise died about a decade ago of a heart attack.
No, shocker. Come on.
Yeah,
That's surprising. You should have warned me about that.
heart disease is real.
Wow. Yeah, but we get a picture of Theo. Theo likes to drink. He had himself, I don't know what it was. He had it in his massive bear paw, so I couldn't see what beer he was slamming. But I like to think it was probably a Coors or Coors Light or even a Budweiser potentially. He looked like a man who liked his diesel. Um,
It could have been a Miller.
could have been. It seems a bit far for Miller. Seems a bit closer to the distribution of Coors, but
Oh yeah,
anything's possible. So we get the picture. Theo wakes up our boy Crawl first thing in the morning, gets him out there. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, which I don't know if you've ever been outside at 5 o'clock in the morning in November in South Dakota, but I expect it to be somewhat similar to 5 o'clock in the morning to where you live today, and it's fucking pitch black outside.
yes.
However,
There is not
however,
a single sunlight
right,
array.
right. However, when they're outside, it's basically midday. So we're now up in the morning at 5 for no reason, and this is where Theo plays all his shenanigans and games on poor Crawl, from digging, you know, shoveling shit to feeding the pigs and feeding the cows. He's got every game that a man he's been doing farming for seemingly 50, 60 years um, has up his sleeve. Correct?
Oh yeah, he's good at what he does.
Right. He's the ultimate troll, but I so I grew up and I worked. I was a heavy equipment operator. My dad owned a construction company, so like I ran job sites. And Theo reminded me a lot of the guys that used to work with us, right? So they would pull all these pranks on you throughout the day as the new guy, as the kid, right? So I that's why I always like, yeah, Theo's not a great guy, but like I laugh because Theo reminds me of so many of the same cast of characters that I grew up with when I worked for my dad's company. So but yeah, so Theo pulls all these pranks, gets to do all these different things, seemingly like 38 different jobs before lunch, right? That
Oh
he's
yeah.
got all this stuff to do and they haven't even lunch yet. But mind you, they went and got started at 9 o'clock in the morning.
I'll say this though: the part where he pushes them in the pile of hay and cow manure, that's not cool because that's basically giving the guy pink eye.
Right. Well, and I'm wondering too when that happened, Lee. It was like, what's he actually trying to do? What does he want him to do there? Like, he just pushes them in and then gives them a pitchfork. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? You have a tractor. There's put a bucket on the bitch and
Oh
go
yeah.
loader it wherever you want.
Yeah. They should be doing things the smarter way. This is not 1800s. This is like
Right.
like no fucking lie. I have nowhere near. I don't have a farm, and I definitely don't have near where the acreage. I have a front end loader. It's awesome.
Yeah. 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 It's amazing that once you have the toys and you know we're coming up on one of the more like notable scenes of this movie here where we know he has implement, but we have to get to your favorite scene, one of your favorite scenes, which is the lunch scene, which is kind of the tipping point of the family, right? So you texted me. You said this is my favorite, one of my favorite scenes of the movie.
I don't
So,
recall this at all.
oh yeah, the lunch scene with all the
Pretty
family
sure.
after. Go
I'm
ahead.
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that was Dole that texted you.
I don't know. I think you texted me and said this was your
Because
favorite 50
because
minutes in.
the thing you skipped is when he gets pissed on by the cow
Oh
when he pulls
yeah,
the wrong way. And I gotta be honest, like I grew up around cows, but that cow piss was very white. Like
yeah,
it looked like it was
yeah,
milk. Like I did
yeah.
not think it'd be that much. But he comes in,
No,
and he is not good. But
cows. Yeah,
he does say something that was very key here. He's got patience with himself. He's given himself grace. It's my first day, and they're like, "Hey, you stink. You're bad at this," and he's like, "Nah, I just haven't found my groove yet."
right, right. It which is honesty, which is honesty. He he's really trying. He's trying to be a farmer here, right?
Yeah,
So in our text, I was going back in our text. The highlight for me is 50 minutes in. So this is the scene 50 minutes in. So that was you, Lee. That
is
was
this where
you,
he
not
texted
Dola.
15 minutes?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So anyway, so we get to that scene and the family starts, to get on each other and they're basically just like, give this guy a shot, right? Give him a shot. He's trying. He's committed to becoming a farmer. He's committed to be part of this family. And everyone, you know, kind of says at the same time, give him a chance because he's going to leave. And finally, Becca convinces the family to make sure they give him a shot. And he goes and grabs two drumsticks, and he's going to go out to work. But who's going to go out there and help him? Right, the brother Zach.
Yep.
He's going to go show him how to milk these cows, which
Because
is another.
Zach has already seen him as seeing having some value because that computer scene earlier. He won him over.
Yep,
He turned the tide of at least one person.
yep. So he he owes so Zach owes him for doing his Cam Newton impression on his computer to fix it. So he's bought in. Let's go out there and help you. Let's get things done here. Enough dicking around. Let's go repair the stuff that you broke. Let's get you on the right course. And that's where we are seeing the true love of this family. They really are good people. They don't really hate the man that showed up on their doorstep a day ago and now is engaged to their daughter.
I could argue that actually what they are is a very protective family who doesn't want someone coming in who's not worthy of him, and they don't see value in him until one by one he convinces them there, and he does it in really awkward ways.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. He's got to win every one of them over bit by bit. And we'll get to how he wins over the mom, which yeah, the special place. But anyway, so so he's back outside. He's fixing all of his mistakes. He's learning how to do things smarter, right? Feeding the cows by putting his roller skates on and going down the hill, feeding the cows. He's doing all the right things with the pigs. He knows Theo's game, and he finds his way into the combine,
Yes.
which which the dad says is a $250,000 piece of implement, right?
Well, he's probably not that far off.
In 1993,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Now it's 225. No, it's $250,000. Not 1983. It was that much.
Yeah, 1993 it was that much. It's probably three-quarter of $1 million, if not $1 million now. These things are ridiculously
Now, to be
expensive.
fair, it wasn't a really big one, and it wasn't really a great one either, because let's be honest, like it's tape player. Okay, fine. Even in 1993, it should have a CD player in it. Secondly, it had the gear shift, but it wasn't really all that great. There was no programming, no GPS. They had all those things back in the 90s. They should have had that in there.
Yeah, it was probably a lower of the rung. We'd have to get our guy Kyle. It
Yeah,
is a
why did we
Massey
not get him for
Ferguson.
this?
I know. It is a
And
Massey
by the way,
Ferguson.
I'm not a Massey Ferguson guy. I am most definitely a John Deere.
Of course, because you're a hot blooded
My
American.
Well, my father-in-law, he's an Alice Chalmers guy, and so we kind of go back and forth a little bit. But hey,
Didn't Alice Chalmers start in Minnesota, or was that
possibly.
Milwaukee? I, I'm
Minneapolis Moline did.
no, the Moline. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe that's what I was thinking. But yeah, I think you know what? Now I think Alice Chalmers was from Milwaukee. Now that you say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so he's in the combine. He's out there and he scrawls his name, crawl, right in the cornfield,
Well,
which
first he puts the John Deere tape or John Denver tape, excuse me.
John Denver, yeah, country boy, and he goes out there and doesn't cut a nice line anywhere. He puts crawl in the middle of this cornfield, which
Yeah.
if a farmer, that's got to piss him right the hell off, right? As
Well,
the dad, he's got to be mad as hell.
there's that. There's also like he puts the rollerblades on, and he feeds. This is like remember he's 4 hours into this thing, so he realized if I put my rollerblades on, I can just feed I can feed the all the pigs this way or the cows, and then
Yep.
he's like, oh, I'm gonna go feed the pigs the trough, and he knows Theo's gonna do the same trick again. So this time now he's balanced and savvy enough to jump and ride said pig, like and then he's shoveling shit like a pro. Literally, the afternoon he turns into a farmer.
Right, right.
He
As
has
our
4 months experience in literally a 15-minute lunch.
Yeah, I mean, as our guy Drew pointed out um on Twitter, he basically says, as fast as Van Wilder took all of his finals, his 38 finals there, Crawl became a farmer in the same amount of time. Like he
Yeah,
went from not knowing how to do anything to being super competent and an expert. So Crawl walks away from his escapades of learning how to, be more efficient and feed these things and know to look out for Theo's games and running the combine harvester. And he's pretty proud of himself. I mean, he's like, I'm a farmer. I mean, you're looking at the next farmer of this property, right?
and I'll be honest, to be able to drive the combine the first time he sits in it and write his name, that's fucking pro level.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he didn't miss a point with that cursive. I mean, he must have majored in that for a few semesters. This cursive writing.
And first, and also while he's doing this, Theo's fucking around and not seeing him driving with that thing. You could say Theo's riding, they'll putt around, but he should have heard that combine going. They're not that quiet.
No, no, no. Over that little two-stroke engine in that tractor. Which
Yeah,
here's another
which
here's another piece of this tractor. He tells Crawl when he's fucking everything up. He tells Crawl to put it in first gear, but picks up
yeah,
the
that's him.
hitch like you need to back it up to me, but tells him to put it in first gear.
That's
So
bad advice because everyone knows first
right,
gear's forward.
right. So like, dude, you knew he was up to some shit. But anyway,
Not to be
so
trusted.
no. So you're right. So the little two-stroke engine wasn't that loud. He's not paying attention. There goes the combine harvester. They go try to track it down. They're running through the field. Crawl gets done with spelling his name, drives it back out of the field, parks it, takes a bow, and he's like, I've arrived. I'm a farmer.
This is kind of what shouldn't surprise me so much. This is a guy who frequently says I majored in this at various times.
Right.
He had a billion
Yeah.
different majors, and so obviously he's a quick learner, quick study.
Yeah. Yeah. So he must have been tip top shape with his heavy equipment operating license too. Um so we get we get through that and we're now at night and we see Crawl walking through the house with a robe on, heading towards the bathroom. And there's a woman bent over in just getting out of the shower, doing, bent over away from him. And he walks up behind her and gives her kind of a great love squeeze, right? Like a little squeeze,
Yep.
like gonna do it. And oops, not Becca, which still would be kind of weird that if it was Becca, right? Like they're not really a couple, and he's gonna kind of do that, right? right? Kind of weird, but
But then
alas, it's the
he
mom.
doubles down by not getting out of the bathroom right away with
Right,
his soon to be mother-in-law in the bathroom.
right. He's complimenting her skin. He's complimenting her body, telling her, she's got to put a little makeup on and get dressed up and put it all out there,
Oh
and
yeah.
telling her she's smoking, right? And she's also not saying get out of the bathroom, like get out
No,
of here,
not
crawl.
like to be fair, like she had the bathroom door open while she's
Right,
doing this stuff.
right.
There's,
It's
I have
almost
seen multiple videos to bring this back full circle. I've seen multiple videos that start out very similar to this.
the time. Well, not in Utah.
No, they're definitely not in Utah. You have VPN.
So yeah. So he's trying to entice her into giving him a chance to get her all dolled up for this event, this night out, right? She kicks him out of the bathroom. He keeps going. She finally relents, and everybody in the house is ready to go except for them, because clearly, like, she got in the shower when everyone was dressed and getting out of the room. So like everybody's
Well,
waiting.
she thought she was just getting in the shower, putting on the frumpy clothes, and putting her in a ponytail.
Right, right. So so now they have to plan to actually get makeup on and get all dressed up. So this is where we learn they have more than one vehicle, because
Yes.
this is when they say, "Well, you guys go ahead, we'll catch up," right? Like, where was this when they went out to the country club? Why did they have to sit in the
Or
back of the truck in
the airport.
November? Right, right, right. Exactly. So so Walter Jr.'s like, "Hey, you get ready, we got to get going, yada yada yada." And then, Crawl's there picking out shit in her room to wear. And the next scene is they're at some square dance, barn dance scenario, and everyone's having a great old time. Walter Jr. and Becca are there dancing, and
Yeah.
Theo's
By the way,
dancing with
this is
Tim.
the first intro to the soundtrack, and it is pure '90s country classics.
Oh, absolutely. Like Randy Travis, Dwight Yoakam, like it is
Brooks and
right in
Dunn.
that wheelhouse. Yep, right in that wheelhouse. So we the setup here is this is everybody's here having a great time, and for some odd reason, Crawl decides to uh dress her like she's going out to salsa dance, and
Yeah,
not
she was like the
necessarily.
Chiquita Banana chick.
Yeah, like he's like, what's the most obnoxious thing you can wear? Okay, we'll go with that, which
And
makes
Walter
sense.
Jr. is upset, and meanwhile, like he's looking embarrassed, and like Crawl is just dancing in the background until some other guy
Right.
says, "Hey, can I dance with you?" Whatever her name is,
Right. Yeah. It looks like Travis's like
Donnie.
younger brother walked up to her and wanted to dance, and she
Yeah.
was kind of like, "Whoa, okay." And that's where Walter Jr.'s like, "No, no, no, dude, get out of my face. This is my bride. This is my wife. I'm taking that home."
By the
And
way, I'm a
then we see. Go
big
ahead.
fan of Walter Jr.'s shirt in the scene. By the way, I would wear
Oh
that shirt.
yeah, absolutely,
Wear that
absolutely.
shirt today. Although
Did,
three other
did,
people in the scene, I'm watching right now. Three other people are wearing the same exact shirt as I'm in the scene right now.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I bet you there's quite a few of those the pearl snap shirts around. Um, But we then in this scene we realize that she's turned the mom has turned into the belle of the ball, right? Everybody's looking at her. I mean, she's fluorescent pink, so it's kind of hard not to. Um, but then we also realize that Travis is there, and Travis sneaks up on Crawl to a point that Crawl hits the deck, thinking he's gonna get punched again, and um, and that's when Travis is like, no, 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 I'm a good guy. I want to throw you a bachelor party. And no bells or whistles go off in anyone's head like there could be something here, right? Like
Yeah,
no one was like,
nothing nefarious about this whatsoever.
right, right. This is just normal AF activity. Like, right. So after he says, "Hey, let's do this thing," you see Tiffany Andrew Thiessen and Travis talking together, and then you realize, you know what? Travis wasn't being pretty loyal to
Oh
Becca
no,
while Becca
he
was
was
away.
putting in Tat. He was putting Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Right,
He was like
right,
all the time. Like while she was off in college getting her education. He was filling in his education, and I
Right.
think, and our guy Crawl sees that.
Yep. Well, he sees that like, oh, that's fine. He's moved on. Everything's great, right? Like I think that was what went off in his head is like he's perfectly cool with it because she's got her. Well,
He's
he
moving
doesn't
on.
want Becca anymore, so I'm good. But nobody was like, well, that's weird that Travis, who was really upset about it, punched me in the face not but 12 hours ago, is now going to throw me a bachelor party?
Or 24 hours ago. I mean, let's be honest, it's
What
another night.
what okay. Right. Right. Um so so yeah. So things aren't adding up. Theo's like, "Hey, you guys seem to be kind of chummy here." And he's like, "Yeah, cuz we're throwing him a bachelor party." And you can sense at that point that Theo wasn't in the loop on what was going on, but that Travis was going to get him in the loop on how things are going to progress as we get closer to the bachelor party. But this is where you see that Carl's not only winning over the family, he wins over the whole goddamn town here, right?
Oh yeah, with his square dancing where he's like, grind on the monkey, and I'm like, okay, okay. And the guy's like, you can't do this square dancing, and he says, I don't care if it's circle dancing.
Right, right. Yeah, he's like, I don't give a shit. They're having fun. These old people haven't grooved like this since probably
Ever.
Woodstock, so let them have their fun.
Or since VE Day. Some of these people are old, like they're 70
Yeah,
years old, and this is 1990,
yeah,
so they literally was VE Day when they were getting down like that.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So Crawl's having a great time and he's enjoying himself. He gets the crowd into it. The band's still, supporting him, and you see that everybody is just smitten, and Becca is very, very smitten with our guy Crawl. Like
Yeah,
she had
well,
that
the whole
twinkle in her eye.
she was admiring that he was winning people over, and he was got that charisma. Like it says early on, it's about charisma,
Mm-hmm.
and I love the part where he's stage diving and crowd surfing, and the old square dance leader tries to do it as well, and he just promptly no one catches him at all.
Splats on the ground. Yeah. So now we're going to get into this scene where it's evident this is a very open family, right? Like they are
Well,
very open with each other.
this is where Senior, the grandpa, wants to talk to Junior, and Junior's like, "No, I gotta get to bed early. I got a big day tomorrow," and he's got a fight with him like, "You got to get to bed now."
Yeah,
And everyone's like, "Okay, what the hell's going on here?" And we're like, "Okay, they love each other. That's good. We should, every relationship should be in such a way." But then and Crawl's about to get a little I mean, there's a kiss with Becca, but only Pappy intercedes and cock blocks him, if you will.
you're right. His line is, "Don't mind me. Nobody else does."
Which I mean,
Yeah.
he wanted to talk to his son. His son wanted to bang his wife instead,
Right.
understandably.
Right. Right. So that in that moment where Becca and Crawl almost smooch, right? Like that's the only moment in the movie that you get a sense that like there was any sort of attraction there, right? Like
I'd say it's the first.
romantically or anything.
I mean, I think that Crawl had all the makings of a predator up until this point.
Right. Right. Like,
Dropping, taking your underage drinking, dropping a can of beer on her lap,
yep,
and being the RA from Indiana, like Jared the Subway guy.
right. Like you knew early on Crawl would have put one on Becca 100%. But like
He
for
wanted to
Becca
pop her trunk. He
to
was very open about that.
right. But for Becca to be like, "Hey, I want that too. And the only reason why it stopped was because Pappy was just like, I'm over here, guys. Like, don't do that here. So,
But you think he'd be all in favor because after all, they are engaged.
right. But that's his little girl. It's his little, his little granddaughter, you know. But also, it's November. It's in the evening. He's sitting on the porch whittling wood.
Yeah,
So,
this looks out every bit like a August
right,
night in
right,
South Dakota.
right. All right. We have a couple messages from Drew. Let's get to those messages. We're way behind on the one. So let's get to Drew.
You're doing a great job, by the way. Keep it up. This is better than me.
I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying. All right, Drew.
I might be getting ahead of you guys, but at the pace this movie moves, it might be over by the time you get to this. But at one point, Pauly Shore says, "I'm a farmer," and the dad acts like it's stolen valor. Like he said, I'm a veteran of the Marine Corps." Or is this a thing with farmers?
Yes,
Yeah, you don't
yes,
claim to be a farmer unless you farm.
yeah. That is some bullshit. We see people that wear, if they're wearing the farm gear or stuff, and they're pretending like they're a farm boy. They got those weight room muscles, but they're not from hauling hay. You do not. We do not like them.
Nope. Like I've run tractors before. I would never say I was a farmer. Never, ever, ever. Nope. Like I've moved hay around. I've done some of that shit, but I am not a farmer. I
Well,
never. No, no.
and I think that I think also too. I mean, point blank, you can tell who's not a farmer by the people that claim to be a farmer, because that is not something you brag about. You say I work the
Nope.
land, and most people I know that are farmers also have a second job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they
Yep.
work at the grocery store and they farm. They work drive a tow truck and they farm.
Yep. Yep.
It's not one. It's not a one-time gig, because a lot of it now, especially, is it's not an 8 hour a day job for the majority of the summer, unless
No.
you have livestock.
And it you know there are some instances in farming, and this is where be interesting to hear from our guy Kyle on this, but like there's some instances in this where you don't break into farming, like unless you have a family farm where you've got tracts and tracts of land. You can't just break into it. It's too cost prohibitive now, and there's not enough money in it
You got to go
anymore.
buy 1,000 acres. Good luck.
Right. And millions of dollars worth of implement, like that's not going to work. Like it's not going to happen. So so yeah, so for him, it is that culture of like it is stolen valor, because he that's his livelihood, but it's also been his life. Like he's probably Walt Jr. probably has known nothing different than what he's doing and farming, and that's it. Nothing different.
Hey Ben, speaking of stolen
Mhm.
valor, do you get in trouble at the hospital when you walk in, and
I'm nope.
the other doctors see
Mm-mm.
you and they're like,
Mm-mm.
"Hey, he's claiming to be a
Mm-mm.
doctor
Mm-mm.
everywhere else."
So it's funny you say that, because there's a couple hospitals that I have the ability to park in the physician parking lot, and then I come in the physician entrances. So like all of them will be like, "Good morning, doctor. Good morning, doctor," and I kind of just walk in, and I do have people at times like stop and be like, "Good morning, doctor. Hope you have a great day," and I'm just like, "Yeah," and I just keep walking because like I don't. It's awkward, right? Like I don't want to tell them not a doctor. I don't would never put a stethoscope on and walk around and act like one,
I did
because
that
I'm
when I
not a
was out of
doctor.
college.
A female body inspector was that?
I was like, hey, I'm in medical school right now. Can I practice my physicals on you in this bathroom of this bar?
Right, right. Let's go do that right now. I can do my best crawl impression. I'll just give you a quick squeeze here.
I forgot my speculum. I'll have to do something else.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right, so Drew, let's get another one here. Drew.
I'm so glad you both brought this up. I've never seen a love romance movie where the two main characters interact less than in this one. It's so confusing.
Yeah, it it is like they're in love but not in lust, right? Like they're not in a boning relationship. They're just kind of like in a, oh, we're really in each other's corner, but we're
Yeah,
going to
they're
do it
best
from
friends.
afar. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're
It's
going to
like
do it
they're
from
married
afar.
without ever dating.
Right. But But to that point, this is the scene where we now are in the kitchen. Everyone is kind of tussled, right? Hair's astray. It's in the morning. We're making eggs. We're making breakfast. Crawl walks by, gives Becca a little goose in front of the mom, right? Gives her a little pinch on the ass, right in front of the mom. The
Oh
mom
wait, we
looks like
forgot
she was, oh, the
the other
whittling
part too
scene.
was that
Yeah, the whittling
the
scene.
dad the dad the no I was saying the dad when he goes upstairs with the mom pushes their beds together. They have separate beds. And
Yeah,
he's like
that's right.
pushed together, gives her a little tap on there, like we sleep apart, but our son's got
Yeah,
a subscription to Playboy. But tonight we're pushing the beds together. Is
that's
that okay, Harriet?
yeah.
Ozzy's about to
And
get his.
right, and what's funny about that, it's not like they were just like in separate beds, like 6 feet apart, like close. They just didn't want to be in the same bed, right? They were
Yeah.
like other side of the room
Well,
away in
one
other
of them's got to get
beds.
up at 5 a.m. or
Right,
earlier to
right,
start farming, and the other one's got to get up at like 9 to start making lunch.
right, right. So yeah, I skipped that part. So we're now in the morning. Everyone's downstairs getting ready. Walt Jr. is going to go out swimming or out fishing with Walt Sr. He walks up behind the mom that's bent over in the stove, which the mom is bent over a lot and gets herself into some predicaments. But
Well,
he
let's be
he
honest, she was probably bent over that night before too.
well, yeah, it's just he was just rehashing it. So he gives her a little pump action. She turns around like, "What are you doing?" And mind you, their kids are sitting right there. Like
Oh yeah.
for them to do that in front of Crawl is like, okay, whatever. But for them to
Well,
do that in an eyesight of your own kids, kind of weird.
but then she slaps his ass when he's
Uh
walking
huh.
through again.
Uh huh. So they're
And it's
clearly had a good night. Clearly had a good
oh
night.
yeah, very good night. Maybe even a
So
couple good nights all in one.
right. She even says, "Bring me a big one," and gives him a little like smoochy face, like space, like yeah, you got to catch me a big fish, Walter, and I don't. Oh, you got to catch me a big one, Walter Jr., and I'm not talking about a fish.
Because I'm hungry for a big one.
Yeah. So all right. So he's so Crawls at this point won basically everybody over. Walter Jr., I'm not sure he's totally got one over yet. And
I don't know about the grandfather either.
And I was gonna say, and Walter Senior, I don't think he's on board yet either. But I think out of anybody in camp not sure about Crawl, it's probably those two are still kind of standing on the sidelines a little bit. So so the fishing scene is perfect because it's a setup that Crawl doesn't have a clue what he's doing, right? Like
No, he is a horrible fisherman.
right. Fly fishing, not for the faint of heart in terms of fishing, because it does take some finesse. But
And some
he's got it
patience.
upside down, backwards, not sure what he's doing, and trying to take some advice from Walter Jr. But here we have Walter Sr. pulling up a beautiful fish and is just railing on Walter Jr.'s technique on the
Well,
fly fishing.
and since and when Walter Jr. tries to give Crawl advice, Crawl throws the fishing pole on accident into the stream. And so then Walter Jr. does a lot better job than I would have of like keeping his cool. But he just says, "Hey, how about you just hold the bucket when we're bringing him in?" Like
Right,
basically, like you're gonna do the most meaningless work possible. Kind of like when my dad used to say, "Hey, why don't you hold the why don't you hold the flashlight for me?"
right, right. Because you're a complete idiot and can't figure out anything. So,
Did you know my
so
dad?
this is, yeah. Well, I feel like I do, knowing you, Lee,
Yeah.
what he was working with, and yeah, I understand why he had you holding the flashlight. um, but you're right. Like, so here, hold the bucket, son. Just stay out of our way, basically. But this is where Crawl, I think, starts to win over Walter Jr. by explaining to him and drawing the lines between the two relationships of the dad son, father son
Yep.
relationship here, right? Hey, your dad's pretty hard on you. You're pretty hard on your boy. Like, you see that? And I think
Yeah.
Walter Jr. kind of was like, yeah, I do. thank you, right? That was kind of
But
the general
he's not gonna
census.
admit it though.
No,
He's gonna be like,
no.
oh shit. But then as soon as it's going on and it ruins this great moment, Walter Senior has a heart attack or a fainting spell or something, and
Yeah,
and
I
then Carl races over to him and it's like, I know CPR. I majored in CPR 1 year.
right. Right. I mean, far be it from me as not a doctor to weigh in to what medical crisis Walter Sr. is going through here, but I've been very puzzled this entire time of rewatching this movie. It doesn't look like a heart attack. It doesn't look like a stroke. It looks kind of like he just laid down for a bit. He needs some
If I
pills.
could offer a advice here, what it could be,
Yeah.
it possibly could be a vasovagal syncope.
Oh, yeah. It, I was thinking, it has to do with his heart, but it's not a heart attack because clearly that's where we're at. So he needs some pills and points out the fact that Crawl's still not won over. I'm not so won over by him because he'd rather
Well, because
die than have him do
he comes up
CPR.
screaming. Yeah, he comes up screaming as Crawl's about to lay one on him.
Right, right. Do his little CPR. So so everybody gets in the truck, turns back home, empty-handed, no big one for the mom here. And this is where, Walter Jr. says, hey, I really appreciate what you did. Means a lot. And Becca looks at him like, what did you do? And that's when Crawl's like, we got to go talk. We
So
have
they
to have
go.
a conversation.
She has a. I didn't pick up on this the first part of the movie when I watched it. I mean, I picked up it the second time we watched the movie. I saw it when she's got a tower, like a treehouse
Yeah,
type tower. Like this thing is not like in a tree; it's like a structure. It's
right.
a literal like playroom up in a tower.
Yeah, it's a lighthouse-ish thing, but a
Yeah.
tower, yeah, on the property with all of the whittled things and stuff from her childhood that are up there, her special place. And this is where they have the conversation of like, this has gone on too long. We've gotta pull the plug. Like this isn't we can't keep up the charade anymore. Like we've got to tell these people because I do think Crawl was kind of catching some feelings about the family and maybe about Becca, but he's
Well,
like, we just got to pull the plug on this.
I think at this point, like he's showing that he's actually a decent person, despite his rapist ways early on. He he is actually coming through as a pretty
Right,
like a worthwhile person who
right.
maybe I'm gonna go put my psychologist hat on. He probably was a guy who grew up in Vegas, was all flaky, not sure he was into, and then now he's here actually interacting with this family, and he's realizing that wholesomeness is nice, and he
Hmm.
and I think he is someone who kind of blends into his surroundings like a chameleon and adapts. And
Right,
when that wholesomeness of South Dakota Farm, which is located in Southern California, comes up, it actually brings out the best parts of him, and he realizes that like these are good people and they're not that different.
right, right. Yeah, and I think he's like, I found my family, but we can't lie to them. We can't continue to lie to them about what's going on, right? And that's where Becca's like, sure, sure, I'll tell him, I'll tell him. And he's like, you will? She says, yes. So so Kroll makes his escape, gets out of the tower, and he runs into Theo. And I forgot that Theo's like the last of the last that he's seemingly not won over, right? And
Oh,
Theo's
and
like,
spoiler alert, he's never wins Theo over.
no, no. But Theo's like, hey, you got to go kill our turkey, like right now. We got to go get that turkey. So Crawl goes in, right, with his machete to try to kill this thing, but ends up just yodeling at it, and it tips over and has like a heart attack. And they think he killed it. So they bring it inside to the house, which is now like dark outside, night of his bachelor party, seemingly the day before Thanksgiving. So they're killing this turkey mere minutes before they need it prepped for Thanksgiving. And
Yeah, that
Crawl's
shit should
like,
have been brining already.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So Crawl's like, but I gotta go. I plucked one feather, the bird awoke, but I have to leave now to go to my bachelor party. So have fun. And who's out there waiting for him in his Letterman jacket? None other than our guy, big villain,
Travis.
Travis.
To be fair, he's not really the villain yet.
No, no, but we we see he turns into the villain very quickly when they get to the bar where Crawl is pounding beer and Travis slips Theo, who
He's
happens,
not just pounding beer. He's literally sitting yoga style on top of the table,
yeah,
shotgunning pint glasses of
yeah,
beer.
yeah.
Like
He's
he should have won
crisscross
over every.
applesauce.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he should have won over every single member of the bar just doing that. Like I know a lot of them are cheering him on, and like they're all probably Travis's, offensive line from back in the day. And when I say back in the day, I mean 1979, because they're all look 130.
right,
But
right.
then, so he hands a bottle of pills to Theo, who is working bar, and promptly drops a shit ton of pills in this cup.
Yeah.
And
He
since this
just
is
shakes it as if it's salt, just like chunk, chunk,
yeah,
chunk, chunk, done.
and you see these pills falling in there, and they are magically dissolved in 30 seconds.
Right, right. So so Travis hands that cup to Crawl. It's like, have at it, big boy. Slam it down, which he does. Then he's like, I got to go sing some karaoke, which he starts. However, who enters who enters the scene to change the whole dynamics of this bachelor party?
Kelly Kapowski.
None other than Kelly Kapowski, Tiffany Andrews Thiessen. She's there, which we learn that Travis has kind of got her locked and loaded to do this, right? So he had asked for her to do it. She's in this dress thing. She's comes out, puts on a bikini underneath it. She starts doing a
Yeah,
little dance for Crawl, which wish that dance would have lasted a little longer. But
and
those
progress a little
pills,
further.
yeah. But the pills that poor Crawl took, like fast acting, he's he's gone. He's out of his mind. He's passed out on the stage. And nobody there seemingly like worried about him, right? Like no one comes over to be like, "Hey, you okay?" I mean, I
If
get it. It's a
anyone, if
bachelor
anything,
party,
Tiffany Amber Thiesen's worried about him.
right? Right. She's kind of like, "Why did he just fall over there?" But nobody else really asks any questions. Nobody asks any sort of like, "Hey, what are we doing here?" They're just like, "Let's get Tiffany Amber Thiessen cranked up too. Let's just get her blasted." So none other than Theo, the lead bartender, right? He gets a drink over to Travis. Travis gives it to her. She takes a sip, and he goes, "No, no, no, no. Keep going. Keep drinking." So you haven't seen this movie in how long?
Me?
Like,
I
yeah,
haven't seen
like
this since like mid
20,
'90s.
25 years.
Yeah,
so so like that he was always up to no good here, but like
this is
this just
rapist
seemed to be
behavior.
very, very open. Like this was all just very open, and everyone seemed okay with this. And
Can
no
I?
times have changed,
And
but come on.
I will say this: I was a high schooler when this movie was out. This is not boys being boys. This is rapist behavior. And not only that, what struck me this time watching, actually not this time, but the previous time I watched it 2 days ago, was that I actually felt for Tiffany Amber Thiessen, because earlier she said she was going to go to college, or go out to New York, but she had to save money.
Yep.
So now she's dancing in front of a bunch of her high school friends, like like basically stripping in her hometown in order to pay for her way to get out of town.
Right. Right.
Like this has
Because
got to be just demoralizing as hell. And then she gets straight raped.
yeah. Well, right. So so we'll hit a couple messages. We have a couple messages here with Drew and Stu, but we're kind of at the crescendo of like oh God, what happened here? What are
It's
we
the peak
witnessing?
drama.
Absolutely. All right, let's hit Drew.
Both of these people had separate beds, and they were like the size of my 6 year old's toddler bed.
Oh yeah, they're
Also,
both
I
twin
mean, I did
beds.
a lot of sex in college in a bed like that small. Pushing two together would not be helpful. You just got to make it work with one.
No, pushing two together means that you just basically will be in the middle of the act and the beds will separate. Like that's what that means. Like you can't make that make sense. Absolutely. I'm with you 100% true. That doesn't work. All right, Stu.
Aren't Tiffany Amber Thiessen's, or I guess that's her name, aren't her titties all cut up and goofy now?
I don't think so. I think they think of Tara Reid.
I would have to be honest, Stu. I didn't even go to Google and see. I let this let this movie live on
I
as
gotta be
a
honest. I can't
image.
look at Tiffany Amber Thiessen naked. I have to like unless she appears in a movie that way. She is such a wholesome cornerstone of my growing up as Kelly Kapowski, as Veronica, as all these things that she is on a special spot where she can't be seen that way. I can't look at her now. It would ruin orgasms for me forever.
You just she's on the pedestal, and there's no way you can
Yeah.
take her down. All right, Stu.
Ben knows exactly you can't push the two beds together unless you want to fall through the middle. That's what'll happen.
That's right.
How often were you guys having sex on two twin beds pushed together? Because I can honestly say, in my 43 years on this earth, I've never once done that. I've always either had a big enough bed, or I just made do on the really skinny bed like Drew did when he was in college.
Well, I mean, you do it once because it's like, well, this should work, right? And then you're like, nope, nope, that nope, that didn't work. So you don't try it again. You just know that it's never going to work. It doesn't work that way. So it's not a moment of how many times. It was a one time solidified. This isn't going to be a good thing scenario. All right, so we are now at the point where Theo walks in the house and he's all kind of fat and sassy. Everybody's there, seemingly trying to get ready for the day. There's a pie being made.
Also, you notice that Theo in this scene has a ponytail.
Yes, yes,
Had they shown that earlier, it would have been really cleared the table that he was a bad guy.
right, right. Yeah, because in the 90s, every bad guy had a ponytail. That was just how it happened. So everyone's wondering where Crawl was. And then our guy Theo's like, I don't know. There's a lot of huffing and puffing coming from the hay last night out there in the barn. And for some odd reason, Becca thinks, you know what I need to do? I need to bring a gallon of milk out to the barn to see if Crawl's out there. Because as a guy who's hungover, you want nothing more than a big gallon of milk to drink down after being hungover, right? That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, well, it looked delicious, like delicious whole milk.
Yeah, yeah. So so Becca's out there. She's like, "Oh shit! What I just walk into? Carl or Crawl has cheated on me, but we're not really in a relationship. So I'm mad about it, but I don't know why she's mad about it, but she is. And they look like they're peak prime condition, right? Crawl wakes up like it's no thing. He acts like he's got a headache, but looks looks great. Tiffany Amber Thiessen looks like she didn't have a rough night
Perfect.
at all, right?
Yeah,
So
there's no hay at all in their hair.
no, no. So so Crawl goes in the house. He's chasing Becca around. Becca storms up to her room. Becca's mad. She's throwing shit at him. Basically, he's like, "You're not the guy I thought you were. This is ridiculous." And he's all like, "But we're not even engaged. What do you want from me? Why am I here? why am I here for you, right? And he says what probably, he should have said a long time ago. You just wanted me to be your shield because you couldn't tell Travis you didn't want to be married.
Yep.
And she was like, get the fuck out of my house.
But he's right, 100%.
Oh, yeah. She just was a big baby and didn't want to say what needed to be said.
Well, you know what she is? She's an
18.
18-year-old girl. Yeah.
so so she gives Carl the ring back. Um uh and he's all like, all right, sounds good, fits better on my finger, and goes into the room, starts throwing all of his newly purchased Western wear in garbage bags, and Tiffany Amber Thiessen gets into her Trans Am.
Which is
And
a sweet
Lee,
ride.
what does she find when she's in her Trans Am? What does she figure out when she's sitting there?
Well, the first thing she realizes is that the seat is back, like you were driving, all 6'8" of you were driving,
Right,
and
right,
she is a clear, like, Pauly Shore is 5'7", you know, even Tiffany Amber Thiessen's got to be 5'8" at most,
right,
and
right,
so there's no way either one of those is driving. It had to be some big old hoss, and the only big old hoss that everyone knows is Theo.
right.
And when she
So,
slides the
so
seat up, she finds some pills.
yeah. So Tiffany Amber Thiessen's not not just a pretty face, right? She starts to figure this thing out. She's basically Poirot trying to figure out what this mystery was. And who pulls up while she's in the midst of trying to figure out what happened last night? Who pulls up in his Ford Bronco, which was a pretty sweet ride, by the way. Pretty
Yeah,
sweet
they all
ride.
have sweet rides. I'll say, except
Yeah,
for the family. Like she's driving the Bronco suite, the Firebird suite, and then, but that Tempo and the F-350 were not so sweet.
yeah.
But
I
I
mean,
swear,
I would go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll say for a guy who graduated, this guy has his fucking letter jacket glued on.
Yeah, very proud of his time. And he's just awkwardly hanging out after he gives Tiffany Amber Thiessen the what is what for. He's awkwardly standing on the porch. Like he didn't go knock on the door, like show I'm here. He's just kind of lounging on the porch.
He's waiting for the drama to unfold.
Right, right. So Tiffany Amber Thiessen, she drives off because he gives her the you weren't the person I thought you were. You and Crawl like got it on last night. This is ridiculous. She peels out,
And
crawls in the room.
he said, last time I saw you, you and Crawl were driving off.
Yeah, yep, all over each other and driving off. Crawls in the room, packing up, bonding with the little brother, squishing his cheeks for the last time, giving him the hat, and getting out of Dodge because he's like, you know what, the jig is up. This is over. Everything's done. Becca's not who I thought she was. She thinks I'm not who I am, and this is over. So I'm gonna go hitchhike back to LA. And in the meantime, Becca's out on her swing. Travis is there trying to like gel them back together. I don't know, like
It's
sell
okay.
her
It was
on.
just a hiccup. It's like
Right,
in my movie Van Wilder when Dick Beg's like, we can get married. It's just a one-time hiccup.
right, right. And so he's all like, it's fine, everything's gonna be great. Now, he's just
But
saying that because he just wants in her pants, right? Like that's all
yeah,
he's saying this for.
but when you think back too, like when you talk about how like Zach and Crawl left each other, like he was like, you can have, like, if it has on, you squeeze your cheeks, and then Zach's like, hey, if you see some spicy little nugs, send her my way. Like
Right,
they have a true friendship, and it sparked in like 3-4 days.
right. Yeah, they were brothers in mere minutes. Um,
Yes, like you and I that one
abs-
night in Denver.
that's whoa, whoa, whoa. How many people are listening? Jeez, keep it
Three.
down, Lee. Keep it down. Um, so yeah, so crawls hitchhiking. Tiffany Amber Thiessen reaches down, finds the pills, all of a sudden has this epiphany, whips that Trans Am around right on the road, like she's done it all her life, whips this thing over, finds Crawl, pulls over, says, "Get in. We need to talk." And we don't know, as you're watching this movie, you don't know what they're going to do. But then the
No.
cutscene is Travis is at the house. Family meal is finally cooked. That bird that was killed not but 18 hours ago, it's not even, wasn't even rested yet. And they put that sucker in the oven to get it cooked. But Travis is somehow, at the head of the table. He still has the ring in his pocket. And he says to Beck, "Listen, let's get married." And who shows up, Lee? Who shows
Oh,
up?
Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Right. So our guy Crawl comes in and he's like, "Hold up. You got to know about this." And everyone's disgusted. But Walt Jr.'s like, "No, no, no, no. Let's hear him out. Let's hear out what's going on." And then
Yeah,
Tiffany
we owe
Amber
it to him.
Thiessen walks in. Right. Tiffany Amber Thiessen walks in. She's like, "Listen, I don't know what happened, but when I got in my car this morning, the seat's all the way back. I find these pills in my car, and they're saying, 'What's going on?'" And Travis and Theo, they look at each other, not us, don't say anything. And that's when Walt Jr., I think, comes up as the hero in all of this.
Yes, he
Because,
does the
be,
best thing possible.
yep, yep. He says to Theo, "You tell me the truth, boy, or you're fired."
Well, he says your
And
job
that,
depends on
yeah, your job depends on it. Yep. And Theo does the, "Hey, can you pass me those mashed potatoes?"
it. Well,
Diffuse the
you
situation.
he's like, you give me, you have 400 pounds, and I'm gonna die of a heart attack in 20 years.
Right. Right. I'm already asleep. I'm already way hungry here. I've missed my third breakfast of the morning because I'm here for lunch.
Yeah.
So, um, so everybody's now knows the jig is up, that this was a huge setup, and whatever happened happened because of Travis and Theo. And Travis is still trying to win everybody over, and that's when Walt Sr. pulls out some crawl lingo and basically tells him to go piss up a rope.
He says something about like get some grind. I'm coming up right now, but he's like, I, I don't want to have this at my grind. I don't want to have this grindage going on with these melons going or something
Right,
like that.
right. He drops some Carl lingo on him, or crawl lingo, and crotch, crap, whatever. Crawl lingo on him. And then Crawl pulls out like this these moves that shows that he has some self defense, right?
Yeah,
And he
he majored in
basically,
karate for two course semesters.
right, right, basically knocks Travis out, and Theo leaves him there to gravel on the ground, and Tiffany Amber Thiessen gives him a kick in the ass. So,
What? By the way, what the senior says is, "This is tweaking my melon."
yeah, yeah. So so then so
And then he refers to Travis as a greasy scumbag. Thank
yeah,
you.
yep, yep. So everybody now knows what happened. They took care of everybody. Everybody's out of the Travis Theo is out of the house. For some odd reason, they say, you know, "Why don't you stay, Tiffany Amber Thiessen?" When
Well,
it's like, wouldn't
she
she
has to
have?
have no family life
Right,
whatsoever.
right. Shouldn't she be somewhere too? Um, but then my favorite part of that whole interaction is when she sits down, the little brother moves his chair over towards her because that's he's about that life. Um,
And I'll be honest, I'm about that life.
well, right, right. Who wouldn't want to move a little closer?
Yeah.
But then everybody, is there, and that's when Becca thinks, you know what, I got to come out. We got to come out with it. We got to be real. This was a charade. This was a facade. And she stands up and she's going to say that. And that's when I think Crawl really shows who he is and says, "Listen, we got to think about this. We just have to. We're going to pick a new date, and we take some time to get there, right?" So
Yep.
he saves Becca from having to make it super awkward now with the family.
Yeah.
And then this is where, Lee, you want the movie to go on for another hour.
I want to find out son-in-law too. I want to see what happens. Do they go back and make it work?
Right,
Does Crawl finally graduate and give up the RA life? Does
right,
Becca move? Because Becca's gonna be a freshman, and she's gonna be halfway through, not even her freshman year of college. Here she is. She's gonna be, what's her plan? What's their plan? Are they gonna wait for 3 years? Because I'll be honest, like, if I'm the South Dakota farmer, I'm like, hey, my daughter's gonna get married. I'm off the college tuition bill.
right, right. That's when I think you would think that Crawl would come back to the farm and start working as a farmer to try to pay off and show and prove that he is truly a farmer. He's showing to the family he's committed to this and want to take care of Becca. Like that's where you would think this would end, right?
Well, yeah, or like, does he start working the farm when he does he assume he graduates because he's got to be about 30 years old, and he's got to be every bit as old as Travis is. In fact, let's see. No, I take that back. He's not. He's only 25 in this movie.
I was gonna say I thought he was 25 or 24 when this movie was shot. So he was
Yeah,
he definitely fit the bill
but he was
for
probably age
where he
appropriate.
was. Yeah, for where he was in his tenure in college. He's very much age appropriate.
Yeah,
All
but
right,
no. So I
Drew.
I, I think he should go and then start working the farm while Becca finishes school.
Right, right. And then they could get into hijinks. He and Zach, Crawl and Zach get into hijinks because then at that point, Zach would be in the high school, right? And it would kind of
Yep.
be a Van Wilder of high school moment with Zach. I feel like I think
Oh yeah.
he's on the comeuppance, right?
Yeah. The problem is you can't make that movie because it's child pornography.
Well, yeah, 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 yeah. Well, we know that they would cast 28-year-olds to be in as high school freshmen, so nothing would really be a problem. But you're right, you're right. It would have the image of being child pornography. Absolutely. All right. So
Well,
Drew
we'll
and
see.
Phoenix, yeah, Drew and Phoenix has us two messages here. So let's get to the first.
As someone who works in pharmacy, I was really hoping we were going to find out what those fast dissolving pills were. It's so stupid to leave them in the car, though, unless Theo's a real party animal and he was, saving some for later.
Maybe they fell out of his
Oh,
pocket.
yeah, it 100%. Theo, old boy, was keeping those for a later project. He
He was
wasn't
gonna
going to give them.
date rape a pig later on.
Yeah, slip it in one of that one that went down the main chute that knocked over Crawl in that one scene. He wanted to take that swine home for sure. All right, Drew.
So maybe it's just girl power and everything, and I know that Tiffany Amber Thiessen just went through something traumatic, but shouldn't Becca still be mad that she definitely fucked her boyfriend? Regardless of what happened, now she's just invited to Thanksgiving? I don't know.
Well, I don't know that she knew that they were fucking.
Well, and that's a good point, Drew, because like they never really call out like, hey, we were both drugged. Nothing really happened. Like we were
Well, I mean, even
incapacitated.
but I mean, even if you think about her fucking Travis
Travis,
before
yeah,
before the fake engagement, like that was
right,
never called. I don't think anyone ever saw that other than Pauly Shore, and being the cool guy that he was, he didn't even say shit about it.
right, yeah. So that was a big hidden thing. Now, I would imagine at this point they would be like, oh, yeah, that's on Travis. That's not on her. But you would still think it's a small town. Tiffany Amber Thiessen probably knew they were still together, right? Like that was a
Yeah.
very open relationship with people to know, like the valedictorian and the seemingly like perfect all-American guy. Like everybody knows what's up with that couple in a small town. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's a good point. That's a good point, Drew. No one that got swept under the rug a little bit. All right. Chris is the last message here, and then we'll get some final thoughts. Chris.
Hey guys, good show. Thanks for doing this. I'm thankful for all of you, Stu, Drew, and Laura's not here anymore, and of course Ben and SuperLee. God bless you guys and your family, and I hope you have a great holiday and weekend. Take
I
care.
got you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Same to you, buddy. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Drew, Stu, Chris, K, God, 3Ds. I hope you all have great Thanksgiving holiday here. But all right, Lee, what what is your takeaway from this movie? What is the final assessment here?
That the best thing you can finally do is find a farm girl who's in the big city and turn her into a girl with and let those reckless abandon out and just let her be free. Because once you get that tattoo, she's yours, and it's just
Right.
your mark on her, and you can then inherit the family land and live a rich, profitable life. And if that doesn't go good, you might be a chance to bang Tiffany Amber Thiessen. That's my main takeaway from this movie.
Right. Well, and again, yeah, it's the tattoo that turns her into the wild child that she becomes for sure, and the
I don't know if
haircut.
it turns her, but I'll tell you this: what it does is it signals the fact that there's no going back because those tattoos live
No,
forever.
no. Um, so well, you know what? We'll listen to Chris's message, and then I'll give a thought here.
Also, Encino Man might be a good option to do for a movie review. I love that movie.
It's good, but I gotta be honest. I need like what, a 3 month break from Pauly Shore after this thing. I watched this thing twice now.
I was gonna say, I bet you we need about a good year break before we come back to any sort of Pauly Shore movie in there. But yeah, I'm with you. Encino Man, very very good. And you know what? Drew left us a message with final thoughts. So I'll play that.
Final thoughts. I know this is a truly thought provoking piece of cinema based on the fact that all my notes were covered by you guys. Really, had to read between the lines to see what was going on here. But actually, the movie wasn't, I mean, it was shit, but it was a good time. Have a
Yes,
good Thanksgiving. Love you guys. Love the movie reviews. And talk to you next week.
I mean,
appreciate that, Drew. But this is
wanna
this is
yeah,
what we do this for. We want to
yep,
make sure that because there are things that we both picked up on that neither of us picked up on. But when you're sitting down and watching these things, you realize like I can promise you, a 15-year-old Lee did not know about these things or pick up on these
nope,
things,
nope,
and it's like, oh my god, how did I miss out on that? But
yep,
I did enjoy it. I don't regret buying it. Although I'll say this much: those who saw my Twitter, I was at Half Price Books today, killing some time while I was getting my car work done, and I was like, oh, just check the DVD section, and sure as shit, they had this DVD for $5, and I was like, why'd I spend $10 on Amazon Prime to buy it when I could have just bought?
right.
I mean, not at Half Price Books that often, but now I have it with me, and like Ben pointed out, I can just now watch it on my phone whenever I want to.
That's right. When you're flying across the country, taking really weird interviews with people, you can pull this up and be like, "Well, I don't know. Have you ever seen Son-in-Law? Maybe that's a
Yeah.
bonding moment, right?"
Are you more a Van Wilder guy or a son-in-law guy?
Oh man. So all right. So I will say that this movie did have a special place for me just because like it was a movie that I watched with my brother when we were growing up. So like to me it was like there was a lot of reasons why like calling back to this movie, being able to watch it again, like there was good things, good memories that this brought up for me. But the movie itself really, I think it has like a 6.5 score or something like that on IMDb. Like it's probably right. Like
Yeah.
it's not horrible, it's not great. 6.5 is probably a good feel on this movie.
Well,
um
not only that, if you had the flu and you're like, just laying in bed and it was on,
yeah,
you'd watch it and you'd feel good. You'd get
100
some laughs.
100%, 100%. So yeah, Pauly Shore was a bit extra, but that was him. That is him. Um, but but this to me, it is actually a very nice and enjoyable Thanksgiving movie that isn't so like holiday heavy. If you don't want to, if you want a little bit of a break from kind of the holiday stuff, it still has the great feel good ending where everyone, it brings and galvanizes the family together. And anybody who's gone away when you went away to college kind of could see it's very similarity. I saw a lot of similarities in things that I experienced when I went back home for the first time, and people were like, "Wow, you've changed." It's like, "Yep, I have," but I didn't get a tattoo and didn't cut my hair and dye it black. or anything crazy. But just I saw a lot of that in me. So like I appreciate everyone watching it. I appreciate everyone joining us today. Thank you guys very much for spending time with us to review this modern masterpiece, this Thanksgiving classic. Um, and I think we're gonna have even a better movie next time. I
Oh God,
think
yes, it'll be.
generally,
It's a better movie.
yeah, it's a legit better movie. Like it's up a rung. And if
Upper Rung
everybody,
might be stretching it, but it's one that I have not seen in 20 years or since it came out. Basically, I think I saw it in the
yeah,
theater, and I have not seen it since. And I am looking forward to seeing it again. I
yeah,
almost started it until you guys stopped me and said, no, we gotta shake it up and do Son-in-Law first.
right. So we are going to watch Varsity Blues next, as long as everybody's good with that. But I think everyone's good with that, and hopefully Dola is healthy and well, and he can join us on the next review because I think Varsity Blues is going to give a lot. We might have to book 4 hours for that movie because
Oh yeah,
there's a lot in that movie. So
I got thoughts on
um,
that one, and I haven't seen it in 20 years. But also, can we start out by saying that in real life, I look significantly like James Vanderbeek, and so I'm gonna have issues with that.
well, there's a reason. There's reasons why I suggested that needs to be this movie needs to be on our list. So I think we'll all have something to chime in. Everybody who's ever seen that movie will have something to chime in, and I hope more people talk about how you look like James Vanderbeek. So let's leave it at that. Um, any other comments, or we can wrap it tonight?
I think we wrap it. Everyone have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you guys for spending hours with us as we go over a movie again. And Ben, just it's 2.5 hours of talking about a movie that's an hour and a half long.
Yeah, well, that's kind of consistent with our theme here
Yeah.
of talking way way longer than the movie. So, oh man, all right, much love, everybody. We'll talk to you guys soon. I think we are doing a Friday show. I don't know about Dola, but hopefully he's back and recuperated.
Ben, if
If
he's not, you and I can put one on. We got the wherewithal to do
e-
this.
easily, easily. All right, guys, much love. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye, guys.